Chapter 95. If anyone needs anything, feel free to tell me. We can start other transactions now. Zhang Yanghao sat on the stone bench and chuckled as if it was a great honor to be the lackey of sect leader Zhua. Divine Dr. Zhang, I have an ancient recipe for black jade rejuvenation ointment. I wonder if the Shenong school can help me make it? I am willing to exchange it with the recipe. Madam Mange, my senior brother is suffering from qi deviation. I would like to ask for your qi smoothing pill. The price is negotiable. Divine Dr. Zhang, my son's constitution is too weak. Do you have the leopard fetus channel easing pill? Suddenly, the crowd swarmed forward and surrounded the two of them. They begged and begged. Some of them used cultivation techniques and ancient books to exchange, some used pill recipes and old herbs, and some even took out checks. The other martial artists and rich businessmen also started to move. Some of them set up stalls to sell so-called Dharma artifacts, divine weapons, and even exchange cultivation techniques. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and found that the so-called Dharma artifacts and divine weapons were thousands of miles away from the ones he made. Needless to say, those cultivation techniques were extremely crude. He was bored, so he borrowed a pen and paper and set up a stall. He pulled up a banner. Body tempering cultivation techniques, essence pills, talismans, but must be exchanged with spirit herbs or wood or earth element array materials. When the crowd saw it, they were all dumbfounded and could not believe it. Isn't this kid too amazing? He knows martial arts, spiritual spells, talismans, alchemy, and array formations. Maybe he's buying it for his sect or his family elders. The crowd could not believe it. They pointed and talked among themselves. Jiang Tian's small banner contained a lot of information. It showed that Jiang Tian was proficient in medicine, alchemy, array formations, and martial arts. These were the treasures of the Wuxia civilization, and were extremely profound. Ordinary people could dominate a region, and look down on the heroes if they were proficient in one, let alone being proficient in these skills. Young master, do you have essence pills? Niu Bowen came over and cupped his fists respectfully. Yes. Jiang Tian nodded. Can you let me take a look? Niu Bowen was immediately delighted, and asked humbly. Jiang Tian poured one out of the porcelain bottle, and handed it to Niu Bowen. It looks pretty good and has a nice fragrance. I wonder if it's real or fake. Niu Bowen couldn't make up his mind. He smiled and asked, Excuse me, young master, where did you get this pill? Of course, I made it myself. Jiang Tian sat on the stone bench with his legs crossed, his face calm and composed. You refined it yourself? You're proficient in alchemy? Niu Bowen cried out in surprise, as if his chrysanthemum had been pierced. Isn't this too godly? To be able to refine medicinal pills at such a young age. You really made it yourself. Let me take a look. This shout attracted everyone's attention. More rich people and martial artists swarmed up and surrounded Jiang Tian. Their faces were full of shock and reverence, and they asked this and that. Humph, Jiang Tian, you're an ignorant and incompetent trash. How can you refine medicinal pills? Who are you kidding? At this moment, a cold sneer sounded. Chun Bo strode over with a sneer on his face. Young Master Chun is here. Everyone knew that he was an outer disciple of Shenong School, so they didn't dare to neglect him. They respectfully stepped back and made a path for him. Chun Bo came closer and stood still. He looked down at Jiang Tian and said disdainfully, Mr. Niu, don't believe him. He's just a disciple of a medical family in the secular world. He's such an idiot that he can't even write an ordinary prescription, let alone refine medicinal pills. He glanced at those medicinal pills, sneered and shook his head. These are fake. They look good and have a nice fragrance. They must have added flavor and pigment. Don't talk about cultivating essence qi. They're more like rat medicine. Well, Niu Bowen didn't know who to believe. You're just an outer disciple. What do you know? How dare you criticize my medicinal pills? Jiang Tian looked at Chun Bo, who was making trouble, and said with a sneer, Of course, this is a real elixir, and it's a top-grade elixir. Compared with mine, the elixir of your Shenong sect is just trash. You're too arrogant. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Shenong School is the best in the alchemy school in the world. Who can compare with it? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone couldn't believe it and looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a fool. Shinnong School was a big sect in the alchemy school. It ranked the top 3 in the world in terms of refining medicinal pills, but Jiang Tian said that the medicinal pills of Shinnong School were trash. This was simply boasting and extremely arrogant. Chen Bo was so angry that his whole body trembled. He sneered and said, "You're just an idiot. How dare you boast in front of me? Do you want to die? Who do you think you are?" Jiang Tian said disdainfully. "You're just an outer disciple. Even if Leader Zhuo was here, I would still dare to say that." Chen Bo was so angry that the muscles on his face twitched violently. He roared loudly, "Left and right, beat this guy to death and throw him out. How dare he make fake prices in the territory of our Shinnong clan, and behave atrociously." In his mind, Leader Zhuo was proficient in medical skills and was like an immortal. However, he was humiliated by Jiang Tian, a good-for-nothing. How could he bear it? "Yes, senior brother Chen." Several handyman disciples looked serious and immediately approached Jiang Tian. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They thought that this reckless guy was going to be in trouble. "Chen Bo, don't be rash." Suddenly, a majestic voice came. Zhang Yanghao and Ms. Mange came over together. Everyone retreated one after another, consciously opening up a path for him. "Elder senior sister, this guy is talking nonsense." Chen Bo's face turned serious. He cupped his fist and bowed. Then he complained about Jiang Tian's evil deeds. "Shut up." Zhang Yanghao didn't listen and waved his hand to stop him. Then he cupped his fist and said to Jiang Tian, "May I have a look at the pill that this young man refined? I heard that this guy is Zhang Yanghao's disciple." Jiang Tian looked at Chen Jisher, who was behind Zhang Yanghao, and nodded slightly. "Disciple Chen Jisher greets the great miracle Dr. Jiang." Chen Jisher bowed deeply and looked very humble. "Please have a look." Jiang Tian didn't want to talk nonsense and handed over a pill. Zhang Yanghao revealed a scrutinizing look as he took the pill. His beloved disciple Chen Jisher said that this guy was proficient in medical skills and had cured Mr. Tang. So he came to take a look. But in fact, he was very dissatisfied with Jiang Tian's nonsense. Oh my God! But the moment Zhang Yanghao took the pill, his body trembled as if he was struck by lightning. He was stunned and petrified on the spot. "What's wrong?" Everyone was confused. This is a 9-aperture spiritual pill. It can be said to be a top-grade pill. Zhang Yanghao was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He couldn't stop trembling and said in a trembling voice, "Looking at the shape, it has 9 apertures. Look at the color. The essence is restrained and the spiritual energy is dense. Smell it. It refreshes the heart and refreshes the mind. And the fragrance will last for 3 days. Top grade. It's even a top-grade pill." As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. Everyone was in an uproar. Essence pill could cultivate the essence of blood, let the iron body condense inner strength, and let an external expert cultivate inner strength. It was originally a heaven-defying pill, but it was very rare. Even a low-grade pill was priceless and hard to find. And now, what Jiang Tian took out was actually a high-grade essence pill. Wouldn't people fight over it? "Little brother, how much are you selling this pill?" Everyone's eyes were burning. Like money grubbers who saw a treasure, they rushed to Jiang Tian. "Elder, you didn't see it wrong, did you? This brat is just a good-for-nothing idiot." Chen Bo didn't give up and said anxiously, "How can he refine a top-grade essence pill? How can I see it wrong? You can't even refine a pill. What do you know?" Zhang Yanghao frowned and glared at him, looking unhappy. "Get out." Slap. Madame Mange raised her hand and slapped Chen Bo. Her beautiful face was cold as she scolded angrily. "You disgrace, you don't know the face of an expert. If you dare to disrespect Mr. Jiang again, I'll kill you." Eldest senior sister. Chen Bo felt wronged, but when he met Madame Mange's cold eyes, he didn't dare to talk nonsense and left embarrassedly. "Little brother, how much is this pill?" "I'll pay 1 million, give me one." "Are you crazy? You want to buy a top-grade essence pill with 1 million? That's the price of a low-grade pill, okay? Young master, no matter how much it costs, I'll buy it all. Just name your price." After Jiang Tian's medicinal pills were approved by Zhang Yanghao, everyone present no longer had any doubts. They surrounded Jiang Tian so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. They waved their checks and bank cards, pushing and shoving each other, as if they were afraid that if they fell behind by even half a minute, they would all be snatched away. For martial artists, the essence pill was too important. It was the key to breaking the shackles between iron body and inner strength. It could be said that it was a miracle pill that could change their fate. Its value was immeasurable. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian didn't even look at the checks and said indifferently, "Everyone, I'm sorry. I said that I don't want money. I only want spirit grass, spirit medicine, and 5 elements array materials." Array materials? Spirit grass and spirit medicine are too rare. Who can have them? Everyone was disheartened. These things were extremely rare, and even normal martial artists couldn't get their hands on them. A young man in a white Armani suit said slowly, "Young man, I will give you the swallow water art in exchange for 10 pills. What do you think?" This is Tang Qianbian, the third lord of the Tang sect in Shu province. The Tang sect's lightness art is the best in the world. Someone revealed the origin of this young man. Young Lord Tang. The swallow water art is one of the most powerful lightness art of the Tang sect. I wonder. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in shock. The Tang sect in Shu province was known for its powerful lightness art. They could walk on water, leap over walls, and fly into the sky. Legend had it that the top assassin in the Republic of China, Wang Yaqiao, was a disciple of the Tang sect. He had founded the Axe Gang and assassinated many politicians. Even Huang Jinrong and Du Yuesheng were afraid of him. In the end, it was Boss Dai who used a dozen gunmen to set up a trap. Wang Chongyan, the leader of the Blue Cloth Society, was also the most powerful overlord in Zhonghai at the time. I don't lack cultivation techniques. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he shook his head without hesitation. This young man is so powerful that he doesn't even care about the Tang sect's art. Tang Qianbian's face changed slightly. In the end, he shook his head in disappointment and said sourly. Meanwhile, Ms. Mange's interest was piqued. She pointed at the pills on Jiang Tian's stall and asked, "Young Lord Jiang, what kind of pills are these? Can I have a look?" Chapter 96. Take a look. Jiang Tian handed her the pills and introduced them calmly. This is a small recovery pill. It can treat poisons and internal and external injuries. It can strengthen the body and cure all diseases. This is a rising dragon meridian changing pill. It can transform the bone structure, strengthen the bones and meridians, and make the ordinary person have the potential to become a martial artist. This is a vitality enhancing pill. It can nourish the breath and help an iron body martial artist to advance to the inner force stage. This is a bottle of fire spirit pill. It can treat cold poison and ice. It can even cure Lou Gehrig's disease. Jiang Tian spoke tirelessly as if he was familiar with his family's treasures. His face was calm and emotionless. What? The vitality enhancing pill is so powerful. Small recovery pill, fire spirit pill, rising dragon meridian changing pill. These pills are too powerful. However, everyone turned pale with fright as they cried out in surprise. The way they looked at Jiang Tian was filled with passion. Madame Mange looked at the pills and exclaimed with admiration, "Mr. Jiang is really a master. These pills are pure and abundant. Almost all of them are top-grade pills, and there is no lack of top-grade pills." Hearing that, everyone's eyes burned even more. At this time, Zhang Yanghao pondered for a moment and suddenly said, "Master Kong, can you sell these pill recipes to us?" "You? What do you mean?" Jiang Tian asked. Redwall Imperial Medical Hall can do it, and so can Shinong School. I think they can all afford this price, Zhang Yanghao said reservedly. This guy is going to strike it rich. Once these words were spoken, everyone nodded one after another, looking at Jiang Tian with envy. Redwall Imperial Medical Hall was backed by the central government. How much money could they not afford? Shinong School's secular industry was huge. Its assets were not in the hundreds of billions, but tens of billions. Naturally, it was not a problem. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. It's useless to give you the pill recipes. You can't refine them. These pills were all nourished by Jiang Tian's true essence. They could not be refined with only a charcoal furnace. Madame Mange's expression turned strange, her beautiful eyes narrowing as she asked, could it be that Senior Jiang is an alchemist? As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Jiang Tian with even more shock, as if they were looking at a god. Alchemy was the most popular occupation in the cultivation world. Even a transcendent grandmaster couldn't compete with it. Any sect or family, as long as they had an alchemist, would be able to provide them with an endless supply of pills. What kind of expert could they not cultivate? That is, there are a lot of talents, and the wind is blowing and the water is rising. However, the study of alchemy was profound and subtle, and it was extremely particular about talent and comprehension. Therefore, alchemists were far rarer than cultivators. As the saying goes, martial arts masters are easy to find, but alchemists are hard to find. That's right. Jiang Tian nodded calmly. What did an alchemist count for? His alchemy skills had shocked the universe, and he had hundreds of elixir ancestors, elixir venerables, and elixir saints. Zhang Yanghao secretly clicked his tongue and said, Senior Jiang, if you are interested, why don't you join the Shinong school? I will do my best to recommend you to sect leader Zhua. Not to mention the vice sect leader, you can at least be a hall master or an inner sect elder. Yes, if Senior Jiang becomes sect leader Zhua's disciple, I am willing to give up the position of head disciple. Madame Mange also agreed. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with an envious expression. Their expressions excited. The famous Shinong school had extended an olive branch to Jiang Tian. And once he joined, he would be an elder or a head disciple. That would be second only to one person. Damn, my grandpa gave sect leaders with 10 million in benefits, so I could become a servant disciple. But Jiang Tian is going to become an inner sect elder. How can this be compared? In the distance, Chen Bo was so shocked that his face turned pale. He was envious and jealous, as if he had eaten a fly. No. I can't let him have his way. Otherwise, won't he kill me? Chen Bo was afraid, angry, and scared. His face was livid, and his fists were clenched so tightly that they made cracking sounds. He roared crazily in his heart. Haha, thank you for your kindness, Elder Zhang. Unexpectedly, a trace of indistinct disdain appeared on Jiang Tian's face, yet he said very politely, it's just that I've always been a lazy person, and I really can't stand the restraint of the sect's rules. He refused. This is an invitation from the Shinong school. Everyone couldn't believe it and was petrified. I heard that Senior Jiang is here, and he is proficient in refining medicine. I am here to pay you a visit. At this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly came in, and a tall man in training clothes walked in with a majestic gait. The man was about 50 years old. He was tall and strong, and his aura was strong. He had a square face with whiskers, and a pair of tiger-like eyes were shining. He had an extraordinary temperament, and he was bold and unrestrained. Patriarch Hong. Patriarch Hong is here. Greetings, Patriarch Hong. The martial artists and rich people present were all in awe. They parted like the tide and made way for him. They bowed respectfully and cupped their fists. I didn't know that Patriarch Hong was here. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Even Ms. Mange and Zhang Yanghao didn't dare to be negligent. They treated him with respect and humility. The Hong family was the largest martial arts family in Yi province, and they had been passed down for hundreds of years. As the leader of the Hong family, Hong Tianzhao was already at the transcendent stage. He was one of the top 20 grandmasters in Wuxia, and he was famous for his fighting prowess. What's more, he was generous and forthright, eager for justice and good karma. He had many friends in the martial arts world and had high prestige. In the martial arts world of Wuxia, only the few veteran grandmasters like Hu Qingtian of the Central Plains, Wu Yingxiong of the Southwest, and Wood Camel Peak of the Northwest could suppress him. In Yi province, if the Shinong sect was a living immortal above the sea of clouds on the mountain peak, Hong Tianzhao was a ferocious dragon that could control the wind and rain and stir up trouble in the province. It's okay. We are people of the martial arts world. We don't need to care about these details. Hong Tianzhao laughed heartily. He cupped his fists and then asked curiously, "Haha, where is that great alchemist Jiang? Bring me to him." Under the guidance of the crowd, Hong Tianzhao walked quickly to Jiang Tian. "Oh, look at my stinky mouth. That old man makes great alchemist Jiang sound old." The moment he saw Jiang Tian, he suddenly slapped his mouth and laughed. "He's obviously a young man. He's quite handsome too. That he's so cool and handsome." Hong Tianzhao's humorous words made the people present burst into laughter. Next to him, Qiu Gong had already introduced this person to Jiang Tian. In terms of worldly businesses, Yi Gufeng was far inferior to Hong Tianzhao, a tycoon who dominated the entire province. He was like a speck of dust. In terms of martial arts, Li Zhenwei and the others who were ranked at the top of Ling Nan could not be compared. Hong Tianzhao was not only a transcendent grandmaster, but also a powerful person. He had friends all over the world in politics, business, and martial arts. He was the king of Yi province. Hearing this, Jiang Tian's face was calm. He cupped his fists and said, "I am Jiang Tian of Jinlin City. Nice to meet you, Mr. Hong." "Mr. Jiang, I see that Qiu Gong is with you. You must be a martial artist." Hong Tianzhao looked deeply into Jiang Tian's eyes and said, "If you are interested, join the Hong family. I will make you the first guest elder. You and I will call each other brothers. We will sit around the stove and talk through the night. We will learn from each other and discuss martial arts together. Wouldn't that be great?" As soon as he said that, everyone was excited. The Hong family was so powerful and had 100 years of history. They wanted to rope this young man in as their guest elder. Even Hong Tianzhao wanted to call him brother and study martial arts with him. What kind of honor was that? Then Hong Tianzhao threw out another bomb. "Also, I will give you 3% of the Hong family's shares. You only have to do it once a year. It won't affect your study of martial arts or alchemy." Everyone was stunned by Hong Tianzhao's combination of punches. In order to rope Jiang Tian in, he offered such generous terms. The Hong family's assets were in the tens of billions. This sum was almost $1 billion. At this time, even Zhang Yanghao and Madame Mange gave in. Shenong School's strength was not inferior to the Hong family's. However, they could not be as generous as the Hong family. Moreover, they were not the sect leaders. They could not make a decision on such a big matter. "What do you think, Mr. Jiang?" Hong Tianzhao was full of confidence after he said that. The Hong family's martial arts heritage had been passed down for hundreds of years. He was also a martial arts grandmaster. The protection that he could give Jiang Tian was not something that could be exchanged with $1 billion. Don't forget that alchemists were not strong in martial arts. If they did not have a backer, they would be at the mercy of others. Therefore, 8 out of 10 alchemists relied on martial arts sects or clans. However, Jiang Tian shook his head calmly and said, "Grandmaster Hong, I'm sorry. I only want materials of the 5 elements or spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines. I won't agree to any other conditions." The crowd was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian was too arrogant. He did not even care about the Imperial Physician Hall, Shenong School, and especially the Hong family's invitation. This was the Hong family of Hubei province. "Oh, you're rejecting me so easily?" Although Hong Tianzhao still had a smile on his face, an undetectable murderous intent flashed across his eyes. "This brat. I gave you such a generous offer, yet you rejected it. Could it be that you want to die?" Seeing this, Qiu Gong's expression changed slightly. He was shocked. His whole body tensed up. However, Hong Tianzhao quickly restrained his murderous intent and laughed heartily. "Mr. Zhang's aura is really inclusive of the world. You're really an expert." He clasped his fists and said seriously, "All right. Since Grandmaster Jiang does not want to agree, I will not force you. However, I'll say this. The door of the Hong family is always open to Mr. Jiang. We welcome you to join us at any time. Mr. Jiang, you've missed your chance." Even Zhang Yanghao and Madame Mange looked regretful. They shook their heads and sighed. After that, no one came to inquire about the price. After all, they knew that Jiang Tian's conditions were impossible to make a deal with. Jiang Tian walked around and did not find anything. Then he left the 100 Herb Manor with Tang Linglong and Qiu Gong and returned to the Medicine Metropolis Hotel. When they left, Jiang Tian looked at Chen Bo, who was waiting at the door, and said mockingly, "Young Master Chen, you're quite impressive as a doorman." Hearing this, Chen Bo was so angry that his face turned pale. He clenched his fists so tightly that they cracked. His whole body was trembling. Chapter 97. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. In the secular world, he was the young master of heaven, who was awe-inspiring and domineering. But when he came to the Shenong sect, he could only be a handyman disciple, and this was what his family begged him for. On the other hand, Jiang Tian was treated with great respect by both the Shenong school and the Hong family. The difference was too big. It's none of my business. But thanks for your hard work. I'll give you a top-grade pill. Jiang Tian chuckled. With a wave of his sleeve, a pill rolled to his feet. Jiang Tian, what are you so proud of? Who wants your pill? You think you're so great just because you have some alchemy skills? Chen Bo was furious. Throw it away if you don't want it. But Jiang Tian didn't care about him. He put his hands behind his back and walked out of the door leisurely. Fuck, it's a waste if I don't take it. After Jiang Tian left, Chen Bo couldn't resist the temptation. He picked up the pill as if it was a treasure and swallowed it without even wiping off the dust on it. Blurg. A foul smell filled his mouth. Chen Bo held his stomach and couldn't stop retching. He felt something was wrong and shouted, "Jiang Tian, what kind of pill is this? It stinks." "Oh, that's sheep poop. You're a dog, you're only fit to eat this." Jiang Tian laughed and walked away. "Jiang Tian, don't be so arrogant. I'll never let you go." Blurg, blurg, blurg. Chen Bo was about to go crazy. He kept spitting and gritting his teeth. "Master Kong, I'm afraid things are not going well." On the way, Qiugong thought for a while and said with difficulty, "Why?" Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing were flirting with each other through instant messaging. That Hong Tianzhao is not a kind person. As the saying goes, a gentleman is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring gets him into trouble. I'm afraid that he's already coveting your medicinal pills, Master Kong. Qiugong said with a grave expression. "So what?" Jiang Tian said calmly as he looked at the lights outside the window. "What I mean is, let's not go to tomorrow's large-scale pill exchange." Lord Qiu weighed his words carefully and then said respectfully, "Hong Tianzhao is a transcendent grandmaster. Although he appears to be straightforward, he is actually a cunning and ruthless man. I'm afraid tomorrow will be a hangmen banquet with hidden murderous intent." "Hee, you're just a little master. Do you think you're worthy of me avoiding you? You think too highly of him." Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. Jiang Tian was so young, yet he was able to say such bold words. Duke Qiu was dumbfounded, filled with shock and admiration. After considering it over and over again, he changed the way he spoke. "Of course I believe in Grandmaster Zhang's cultivation, but I'm afraid that he'll use some kind of crafty scheme against Grandmaster Zhang. There's no harm in avoiding the edge." Duke Qiu, you have to understand that in the face of absolute power, all kinds of dirty tricks are useless. Jiang Tian sipped his tea leisurely and said lightly, "No matter what tricks he has up his sleeves, I, Jiang Tian, can crush them with one punch." Autumn Doll thought about it for a while, and then he cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Grandmaster Zhang's words make sense. This junior has learned a lot today. Thank you, Master Kong, for your advice." Back at the hotel, Jiang Tian bumped into Jiang Lin, who was running out of the hotel in a hurry. "Where are you going, Jiang Lin? It's so late." Jiang Tian frowned and mumbled. Jiang Lin had always been steady and generous. She had always treated people well. It was rare to see her in such a hurry and in such a mess. "Oh no. I made a mistake with the ticket." Jiang Lin ignored Jiang Tian completely. She was drowning in despair and frustration. Her eyes were red and she kept stomping her feet. "I thought the ticket I bought for 1 million was for tomorrow's large-scale medicinal pill exchange. I just figured it out that it's for tonight. I spent 1 million for nothing. I didn't get any prescriptions. Grandpa will definitely blame me." She was about to cry. "It's already 11. It's time to end it. It's no use even if you go." Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Go back to sleep. If you want to attend tomorrow's exchange, I'll take you there. Jiang Lin's gaze fell on Jiang Tian. She said mockingly, Jiang Tian, you're so arrogant. You're taking me to tomorrow's exchange. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Only those high and mighty martial artists can participate in tomorrow's exchange. Who do you think you are? You're just a useless piece of trash. Be careful not to get your legs broken. She snorted disdainfully. She wiped her tears and walked back to her room angrily in her high heels. What the fuck? What the fuck? Tang Linglong was so angry that her face turned green. She cursed. I want to beat this little girl to death. My Sifu is Master Kong. He's the most powerful man in Jiangbei. Even my grandpa has to be courteous to him. Forget it. Jiang Tian patted the little girl's head and smiled gently. She's my cousin after all. Tang Linglong followed Jiang Tian upstairs with a muffled voice. She was silent all the way. Suddenly, she said emotionally, Sifu, you're such a good person. Huh? I'm a good person? Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment. Then he burst into laughter. He proved his Tao by killing. He was invincible in the universe and had killed countless people. His title was the Taichu Celestial Lord, but more people called him the Zhenyu Demon King, the Taichu Killing God, and the Starry Butcher. He had countless titles that shook the universe. There were many praises and criticisms for him, but he was never a good person. Yes, the Tang family is also a big family. The brothers and sisters fight for power and profit. There's no humanity in them at all, Tang Linglong said emotionally. When I first met you, Sifu, I also thought you were very cold and indifferent to people. But now I understand that you're actually the most sentimental person. You love your wife, help your family and friends, and never give up no matter how much you've been wronged. Haha, is that so? Jiang Tian did not comment. He walked to the door of the room. It's my honor to be your disciple. Tang Linglong hugged Jiang Tian's shoulder and kissed Jiang Tian on the mouth. Then, she ran into her room. I was kissed by a little girl. Jiang Tian knew that she was innocent and only had feelings for him as her disciple. He did not care. He turned to look at the dazed Qiu Gong. Why aren't you sleeping? What are you looking at? Oh, I'll go now. I'll go now. The old man came to his senses and said cheekily, Master Kong, I didn't see anything. I won't tell Madame Jiang. The next day, Jiang Tian, Tang Linglong, and Qiu Gong drove to the venue of the large-scale elixir exchange meeting, Mount Garuda. The steep green hills stretched endlessly, surrounded by clouds and fog. Mount Garuda was like a sharp arrow piercing the sky among the mountains of the Shenangjia mountain range. There was a platform at the top of the mountain, surrounded by fences. This was the venue of the elixir exchange meeting. On the long and narrow mountain road, there was a guard every 5 steps and a sentry every 10 steps. It was heavily guarded. The scenery is not bad. Jiang Tian had his hands behind his back as he walked up the stairs in a lazy manner, and he seemed like a tourist that was sightseeing. Shenangjia was not like the 100,000 mountains. Although there were unknown areas, there was still a certain degree of development. They drove along the winding mountain road early in the morning. It was very easy for them to walk only about 10 miles on the mountain road. Qiu Gong, who had white hair and a beard, and Tang Linglong, who had an ethereal temperament, accompanied him. Jiang Lin came earlier than me. When they reached the platform at the top of the mountain, Jiang Tian saw a scene that surprised him. Brother, I beg you to let me pass. I bought a ticket before this. Jiang Lin was standing at the entrance, holding a ticket and begging the few guards. The ticket is useless. It's from last night. It's already expired. This elixir exchange meeting is different from yesterday. You need to show your invitation letter. Please go back. The big man in the lead waved his hand impatiently. But I missed the meeting last night. I can't just come here for nothing. Jiang Lin was sweating profusely. She was not sure if it was because of her anxiety or the heat. I am from the Jiang family of Jinling City. My father is Jiang Yangming and my grandfather is Jiang Changing. The Jiang family of Jinling City. The leader frowned and looked at the guard next to him. The guard whispered, she should be from the Jiang family of the Medicine King group. Get out. The leader smiled disdainfully. This is a gathering of the martial arts world. The Jiang family is just a secular family. You are not qualified to enter. Jiang Lin was in despair. She did not expect that the Jiang family, which was one of the top families in Jinling City, was not even qualified to attend this gathering. Suddenly, she saw a person on the platform. As if she had seen her savior, she waved her arm and shouted with a smile, "Young Master Chun, please take me in." Chenbo heard her and walked over lazily. He smiled smugly and said, "You want me to take you in? Sure. Now kneel down." After being humiliated by Jiang Tian last night, he was filled with hatred. With nowhere to vent his anger, he started to hate Jiang Lin as well. Jiang Lin's face stiffened and her smile disappeared. She said in a trembling voice, "Chenbo, do you have to be so aggressive?" "Humph, I want to buy you a drink, but you don't give me face. Why should I give you face?" Chenbo put his hands behind his back and looked at Jiang Lin arrogantly. He was waiting for her to kneel down. "Chenbo, you are just a lackey. How dare you make things difficult for the Jiang family? Do you want to die?" Suddenly, a low voice filled with mockery was heard. "Jiang Tian, why are you here?" Jiang Lin turned around and saw Jiang Tian walking toward her. "Why can't I come?" Jiang Tian had already approached Chenbo with large strides, pressing forward courageously. She was shocked when she remembered Jiang Tian's simple and rude personality. She quickly pulled Jiang Tian and said, "Jiang Tian, don't be rash. He is from Shenong School. We can't afford to offend him." "Then what do you want? Do you really want to kneel down?" Jiang Tian stopped and looked at Jiang Lin. Jiang Lin was stunned when she heard this, and then her delicate figure started trembling slightly. Her beautiful eyes were on the verge of tears, and her pretty face was ghastly pale as she said with a trembling voice, "If he can really take me in, then why not kneel for the sake of the Jiang clan's future?" Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. He did not know whether to admire her or to despise her. He said lightly, "Jiang Lin, you are a smart person. Can't you see that the Jiang family and the three major families of Jin City are like fire and water?" With his hands behind his back, he stood there lazily and said indifferently, "In a life-and-death battle, not only does it require one to be meticulous like dust and feign civility, it also requires courage as great as the heavens and an aura that can swallow mountains and rivers. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous will prevail." What you said is almost exactly the same as what Grandpa said at the family meeting. Jiang Lin looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. This cousin of hers had always been a good-for-nothing. She did not expect him to say something so profound. Jiang Tian did not look at her anymore. Instead, he walked toward Chenbo and said coldly, "Jiang Lin, you are good at dealing with people, but you lack the courage to fight to the death. Today, I'll let you see how I'll beat this brat like a dog." Chapter 98. In his previous life, in the business war with the Chen clan, the Jiang clan was filled with the doctrine of defeatism. They retreated time and time again, not daring to lose 800 of their own men, but 1,000 of the enemy. That was why they were at a disadvantage and were defeated by the Chen clan in one strike. Jiang Tian wanted to tell Jiang Lin that only by not retreating and pressing forward with indomitable will one be able to defeat the enemy and obtain victory. "Jiang Tian, this is a martial arts gathering. You are not qualified to join. Get out." Seeing Jiang Tian coming, Chenbo said disdainfully, "What do you want? Do you want to force your way in? Humph, you idiot. Think about it carefully. This is the place of Shenong School. I can kill you with one word." "Humph, Shenong School? Bullshit. I'm here because I'm giving you face," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "You want me to die? You're so arrogant. Even your sect leader doesn't dare to talk to me like this. You're just an ant. You can only talk to me if you lie down or kneel down. Since you don't know, I'll let you know your place." Jiang Tian walked over with a disdainful smile. Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped Chenbo in the face. Whoosh! Chenbo flew out like a kite with a broken string. Blood spurted out of his mouth and his teeth flew. He fell down like a dead dog. His face was purple and swollen like a steamed bun. Chenbo held his head and shook it for a long time before he realized that he had been hit. He couldn't help but fly into a rage. He stood up, pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "Jiang Tian, you idiot! How dare you hit me? I'm an outer core disciple of Shinong School." He couldn't believe that Jiang Tian dared to hit him. The Jiang family had been declining day by day. In the Jiang family, Jiang Tian was just a good-for-nothing who could only cause trouble. But he was the ace young master of the Chun family, and a disciple of Shinong School. In the eyes of ordinary people, he was as high as a god. But Jiang Tian dared to hit him, and there were so many guards and policemen around. It was simply unreasonable. "It's a servant disciple." Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent, as if hitting him was like swatting a fly. He corrected Jiang Tian with a murderous tone. "Jiang Tian, shut up. Quickly apologized to young Master Chun." Jiang Lin's heart was filled with sorrow when she saw this, and she was anxious to the point she almost cried. He thought to himself that Jiang Tian had really gotten him into trouble. He had beaten up Chen Bo, so he definitely had no hope of entering the arena. He might even be tortured to death by Chen Bo. Is a mere ant worthy of me apologizing to him? Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said slowly, "Killing him is like killing a chicken." "Jiang Tian, don't be so arrogant. You're courting death. Left and right, beat this brat to death." Chen Bo was so angry that his entire body trembled. His gaze was so cold that it could kill. He waved his hand and shouted. In Shinong School, his status was not as high as that of Ms. Mange and Zhang Yanghao, but he still had some influence in the outer core. He was in charge of the peripheral security of this gathering. Yes. Hearing this, 7 or 8 burly men with strong chi immediately approached Jiang Tian. They rubbed their fists and were ready to fight. "Jiang Tian, hurry up and run with me. I heard that they are martial artists and kill people like cutting grass." Jiang Lin was scared out of her wits. Her face was pale and her body trembled. She pulled Jiang Tian and begged him. "Chen Bo, do you want to die? How dare you be so rude to Alchemist Jiang?" At this moment, Shen Mange quickly walked over with a shout. Her face was as cold as frost, and her murderous aura soared. "Eldest senior sister, he barged into the gathering today and even hit me. I have to stop him." Chen Bo wanted to cry but had no tears. He walked up and explained anxiously, "You must have been fooled by him. He is such a good-for-nothing. He doesn't even know the basic properties of herbs. He can't even write the simplest prescription. How could he know how to make pills? What do you know?" Madame Mango raised her hand and slapped Chen Bo's face, causing blood to spurt out from his nose. She rebuked angrily, "How can I not know great alchemist Zhang's alchemy level? What trick did this brat use to deceive senior sister into worshipping him like a god?" Chen Bo covered his face and glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. He gritted his teeth and roared angrily in his heart. "How dare you stare at me?" Ms. Mange's face was cold. She pointed at Chen Bo and scolded, "Do you want to die? If you dare to be disrespectful to Alchemist Jiang again, you will be expelled from the sect. I will kill you." "Yes, senior sister. I won't do it again." Chen Bo was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly bowed and said, "This eldest senior sister looked gentle and virtuous, but in fact, she was extremely vicious and merciless. Countless disciples who did not follow the sect rules were cruelly executed by her." "Kneel!" Ms. Mange shouted. Chen Bo was so scared that he immediately knelt on the ground and trembled like a sieve. When facing Jiang Tian, Ms. Mange put on a smile and bowed respectfully. "Alchemist Jiang, I discussed with Elder Zhang yesterday. Only if you attend the elixir exchange will it be worthy of the name. I wanted to send an invitation, but I didn't expect you to come personally. Ms. Mange didn't welcome you at the door. Please forgive me." "Senior sister Mange, why is she so respectful to Jiang Tian, this good-for-nothing? Also, he knows nothing about medicine. How did he become Master Kong?" Seeing this, Jiang Lin was shocked. She was stunned and petrified on the spot. She could not believe it. "Yes. Looks like we have the same idea." Jiang Tian only glanced at Shen Mange. His expression was very calm as he stepped onto the platform. Jiang Lin hesitated for a while, and quickly followed Jiang Tian. The people around them backed off. No one dared to stop them. At this time, on the platform, there was a huge round table in the center. There was a circle of stone chairs. More than 20 martial artists had gathered there. Unlike last night, there was not a single person from the secular world. They were all martial artists from various big families and factions. Why are there so few people at this gathering? Qiu Gong whispered in Jiang Tian's ear with a strange expression. Who cares? Jiang Tian snorted and looked at Qiu Gong with disdain. Haha, Alchemist Jiang is here so soon. Seeing Jiang Tian's arrival, Hong Tianzhao stood up with a face full of joy. He cupped his fists and greeted Jiang Tian. Tang Qianbian Niu Bowen and the other martial artists also stood up and greeted Jiang Tian warmly. I came uninvited. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. Jiang Tian casually sat down on a stone chair, crossed his legs, and said with a carefree smile. Just now, Lady Mangu said that she wanted to send me an invitation. Could it be that you've prepared some spiritual herbs? Are these all martial artists? They are so strict and powerful. Even Grandpa can't be compared to them. Jiang Lin instantly shuddered with fear, and she stood obediently behind Jiang Tian like a little bird that was looking for the protection of a pair of wings. Haha, of course. Madame Mange sat down next to Jiang Tian and handed him a cup of tea. She smiled and said, Last night, we thought about it and couldn't give up the elixir that you made. So we brought some spiritual herbs from our school. We hope that they can catch Master Kang's eye. Master Kang, please take a look. An elder of Shinong School carefully opened a big brocade box on the stone table. Seeing a furnace with incense and candles in the middle of the stone table, Jiang Tian's heart was slightly moved, but his face was still calm. He glanced at the brocade box and his heart suddenly jumped. So strange. Black nightshade, snow tea, purple duckweed, summer ice holly. These herbs were not strange. They were only about 10 years old. But they were all full of strong greenwood qi, which turned these ordinary herbs into spiritual herbs of the highest quality. Greenwood, also known as green spiritual wood, took 50 years to germinate, 100 years to grow, and 1,000 years to become a material. After 1,000 years, green spiritual would contain surging and pure greenwood qi. It was rare even in the outer space. It was the wood element material needed to set up a spirit gathering array. These herbs are very good. I'm willing to exchange 20 spiritual herbs for them. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Great Alchemy Master Jiang's eyes are like torches. These herbs have been treasured by our sect for many years. Madame Mange sighed softly, then smiled and said, Mr. Jiang, let's start the exchange. She immediately reported the names and quantities of the spiritual herbs. Jiang Tian took the package from Duke Qiu, took out a few porcelain bottles, poured them out, and handed them to the other party. All right. Everyone is busy, so I'll take my leave first. Jiang Tian picked up the brocade box and stood up. Great Alchemy Master Jiang, why are you in such a hurry? Let's chat for a while. You can stay at my house for a few days before leaving. Hong Tianzhao was anxious. He stood up and invited him warmly. Thank you for your kind intentions, Patriarch Hong. Jiang Tian politely rejected. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. There will be a time when we meet again. But I have worldly affairs to attend to, so I have to leave. Great Alchemy Master Jiang, this is the highest quality cloud mist tea from our Shinong School's Cloud Mist Peak. In ancient times, it was offered as a tribute to the royal family. Why don't you and Duke Qiu try it before leaving? Madame Mange's face was full of joy. She looked around with her beautiful eyes and spoke in a sweet voice. She held the cup with both hands and handed it to Jiang Tian. Seeing that Hong Tianzhao and Mange were so respectful to Jiang Tian, Jiang Lin was even more surprised. She couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian didn't refuse. He took the tea and drank it in one gulp. Tang Linglong also took a sip. Duke Qiu hesitated for a moment, then picked up the teacup and touched his lips. Jiang Tian placed the teacup on the round table and turned to leave with a smile. All right, you don't have to send me off. Jiang Tian, you still want to leave? Leave all the spiritual herbs and recipes behind, and I'll spare your life. At this moment, Madame Mange's expression changed. There was no longer any smile on her face. Her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness as she shouted coldly. Jiang Tian, what are they trying to do? Jiang Lin was stunned. She didn't expect Shin Mange, who was so friendly just a moment ago, to suddenly change her attitude. Are they trying to rob us? Suddenly, she understood something. Her face turned pale and her body trembled. She pulled on Jiang Tian's sleeve as if she could find some support. These martial artists were rumored to be superhuman existences. He and Jiang Tian were just ordinary people. Wouldn't they be crushed like ants by the other party? Haha, do you think they can rob us? Jiang Tian stood there with his hands behind his back. He looked at Madame Mange and sneered. Setting up ambushes, assassinating, poisoning, killing, and robbing. Jiang Tian was a grandmaster. These people were playing tricks on him. It was like showing off in front of Master Guan. Chapter 99. Jiang Tian, why are you still so stubborn? Don't you know that you shouldn't show off your wealth? If you have these precious medicinal pills, you shouldn't have taken them out to show people. Jiang Lin was so angry that her body trembled. She glared at Jiang Tian, and then took a deep breath. She stepped in front of Jiang Tian and said righteously, "Humph! We are the descendants of the Jiang family of Jinlin City. My father is Jiang Yangming and my grandfather is Jiang Changgang. If you want to hurt us, you better think twice." Although her aura was not small, her slightly trembling hands still exposed the fear and nervousness in her heart at this moment. Seeing this, Jiang Tian couldn't help but laugh. He also felt touched. His cousin had always had a sharp tongue but a soft heart and a strong sense of responsibility. He had never thought that she would have the courage to stand in front of him in the face of such a deadly situation. The Jiang family of Jinlin City is just a third-rate family. I can wipe them out with a wave of my hand. Tang Qianbian stood up and said with disdain, "We have already done our research. This Jiang Tian is just a piece of trash who offended a wealthy family in Yanjin. If I kill him, the Jiang family won't dare to pursue the matter." He sneered and threatened. "Jiang Tian, put down all the pills and tell me the recipe. Otherwise, I will kill you like a dog." "You are far from being able to do that." Jiang Tian didn't panic at all. He looked at Hong Tianzhao with a cold smile and said, "Lord Hong, are you going to help me or are you going to work with them?" Hong Tianzhao stood up and looked down at Jiang Tian. His eyes were cold as he said, "Mr. Jiang, what do you think? You bastard. You were still friends with Master Kong yesterday, and today you set up an ambush to kill him and steal his treasures." Qiu Gong scolded with a righteous face. Tang Linglong also yelled, "You're going back on your words, two-faced and unethical. How dare you call yourself a martial Dao master? What a disgrace." "Haha, Grandmaster? How much is it worth?" Hong Tianzhao looked up to the sky and laughed. His violent aura swept across the entire area. He looked at Jiang Tian coldly and sneered. "A man's wealth is his own ruin. Yesterday, I opened the door to welcome him into the Hong family, but he didn't give me any face and flatly rejected me. That means he's doomed to a tragic end." Qiu Gong's face was filled with sorrow. This was the truth of the martial arts world. The strong were respected, and the weak were punished. Everything was decided by strength. With a loud rumble, Niu Bowen also stood up and said with a hideous grin, "Patriarch Hong, why are you wasting your breath on him? Everyone, let's work together and kill him. We'll sit on the ground and split the gold. How joyful." He greedily looked at Qiugong's backpack and grinned. "I only want 2 body-tempering pills. Essence Chi pills. I Fire Spirit pills." Everyone present only needed a few words to finish dividing the loot. "Jiang Tian, what should we do? Why don't you give them the pill formula?" Jiang Lin was terrified to the point of shivering, and she curled up like a little kitten behind Jiang Tian while sobbing silently, and her heart was filled with despair. Many martial artists stood up and surrounded him as they slowly closed in. In her opinion, she and Jiang Tian were going to die here today. Jiang Tian was still as calm as ever. He turned around and patted her head with a smile. "Cousin, did you see it clearly? This was the truth of this world. A life and death struggle. A life and death struggle. Remember, if he wants to fight, then fight. Don't back down." After that, he turned around and looked at Hong Tianzhao and Mange. He laughed and said, "Very good. Very good." His eyes drooped slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled up in an excited arc as he muttered to himself, "All those years ago, I attained the Tao through slaughter in the Outerium. and I swept through the starry sky for a myriad of light years, causing me to be filled with delight. After I was reborn, I was restrained and restrained everywhere. It has been a long time since I've killed to my heart's content. His eyes were cold and murderous. But today, you are here for me to kill. I am so happy. Thank you. Haha, what are you mumbling about? You can go to hell now. Tang Qianbian snorted and waved his hands. Dozens of flying knives flew toward Jiang Tian. As soon as the flying dagger flew out, it was as if it was a boundless sea. The dagger light flickered, cold and incomparably sharp. It poured down like a great river, as if anything that came in contact with the dagger light would be riddled with holes. The Tang Sect's 36 forms, limitless flying dagger. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. They're really using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. It's Jiang Tian's honor to die under such an ultimate skill. Someone thought disdainfully. The limitless flying knives were created by the founder of the Tang sect. It was the most powerful hidden weapon. Not to mention that Jiang Tian was just a useless idiot from the Jiang family. Even if he was an expert at the pinnacle of internal force, his blood would splatter, and he would die on the spot. Qianbian is quite talented. Although he didn't use the full power of the limitless flying knives, it is still very powerful. In the field, Hong Tianzhao's eyes narrowed as he sighed in his heart. There was a hint of approval on his face. Haha, they are fighting. It turned out that elder sister Man Ge was scheming. I was wrong about him. Jiang Tian is going to kick the bucket this time. Inside the perimeter, Chen Bo was gloating and elated. When he saw Tang Qianbian attack, his face was filled with fanatical worship and endless envy. He muttered, "Oh my god, Tang Qianbian is so powerful. Killing Jiang Tian is like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. How can such a good-for-nothing deserve to be killed by Master Tang? Haha, playing with knives in front of me? Do you think you deserve it?" Facing this, Jiang Tian stood proudly and smiled disdainfully. In an instant he waved his jade white hand. The 18 forms of the immortal martial dragon-binding hand. A palm of qi broke through the air with a faint aura. It was the size of a millstone, just like the 5-finger mountain of the venerable Buddha. It pushed out horizontally and grabbed down. Crack! Crack! The 36 flying daggers made of fine steel were bent or broken, and fell to the ground. What? Tang Qianbian couldn't believe it, and his eyes narrowed. With a tap of his feet, he soared into the air like an eagle and leaped backwards. The Tang sect's hidden weapons were so powerful that they could even penetrate a person's body with a poker card. However, the limitless saber that he had used just now was made by the Lu family fort, a blacksmith family. It was made with special metals, and was made with an ancient method. It could cut through iron like mud and was indestructible. However, it had been crushed like a piece of paper. Today, I am at the second level of the qi refining stage. I can bind Songlong with one hand. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he smiled in disdain. His jade white hands waved forward as if he was playing a zither. Haha, I told you that you don't deserve to play with knives in front of me. Let me show you what a real knife is. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Jiang Tian's fingertips sent out countless qi blades towards Tang Qianbian. Tang Qianbian was indeed worthy of being the eldest young master of the Tang sect. In a moment of desperation, he stomped on the air and used the flying technique of the swallow's 3 swallows. His body rose up again, and his speed was as fast as lightning as he shot into the sky. Whoosh! However, Jiang Tian's qi blades were even faster. Even though he used the Tang sect's qing gong, he still couldn't dodge them. A sharp sound resounded as his body was penetrated, causing blood to gush out. His entire body fell to the ground like a dead dog, causing numerous strands of dazzling scarlet red to splash out. After a violent twitching, Tang Qianbian stopped moving. He couldn't be more dead. How did he kill young Master Tang? Niu Bowen, Chen Bo, and the others couldn't believe it. Their faces changed as they looked at each other in dismay. Jiang Tian's qi was faint and his speed was fast. They couldn't see how Jiang Tian killed Tang Qianbian. Jiang Tian, when did you become so powerful? Jiang Lin's eyes were wide open. Her mouth was wide open. She couldn't believe it. She didn't have any cultivation. All she saw was that Jiang Tian waved his hand and Tang Qianbian's throwing knives broke. Then he waved his hands and Tang Qianbian died. However, Tang Qianbian's limitless blade made her dizzy. She jumped 20 meters high with a single jump. She was dizzy and her heart was in a daze. However, Jiang Tian could kill him. Didn't that mean that Jiang Tian was even more powerful? Wow, so master is so powerful. So domineering. Tang Linglong's eyes were filled with excitement and reverence. This was the first time she saw Jiang Tian's strength in martial arts since she met him. Qi condensation. He is a transcendent master. In the crowd, Hong Tianzhao knew what was going on. His face paled as he exclaimed, "I heard that there was a transcendent master in Linzhou City. Could it be him?" Mange glanced at Qiu Gong and Tang Linglong. Suddenly, she realized what was going on. Her face paled as she mumbled, "No wonder he dared to show off his wealth. We have underestimated him." "That's right." Qiu Gong stepped forward and let out a proud smile. "This is the transcendent master of Jiangbei, Kong Teichu." Tang Linglong stood with her arms akimbo. Her face was filled with disdain. "Get out of here if you know what's good for you." "What? He is the Master Kong of Jiangbei?" Niu Bowen and many other overlords were taken aback by the revelation. They all took a step back. None of them could believe what they had just heard. The Jiang family was just a secular family, and was considered a third-class family in China. Jiang Tian was a good-for-nothing from this third-class family. He was a good-for-nothing, but now he had become a transcendent master. They had worked hard for decades to reach the iron body state. Even the strongest among them had only achieved initial success in internal force cultivation. However, Jiang Tian had reached the transcendent state. It was unbelievable. Realizing Jiang Tian's power, everyone regretted their decision. If they had known that he was so powerful, they would have stayed away from him. Humph. I am afraid he is just an initial success transcendent state cultivator. He has already smelled the rosemary and drank the heartbreak grass hook tea. Even if he is a transcendent master, he is going to die here. Behind Ms. Mange, a skinny old man in a Taoist robe rose to his feet and said with a disdainful smirk, "Buswanzi, the inner sect elder of the Shennong school." Qiu Gong furrowed his brows and was taken aback. Although the old man was skinny and frail, his eyes shone brightly. He carried a bamboo basket on his back and held a hoe in his hand. He was Buswanzi, the grand elder of the inner sect of the Shennong school. He was a phenomenal success transcendent master. Other than Zuazimu and a handful of other powerful overlords, he was invincible. Not to mention that he was a master of poison. He could kill anyone with a single drop of poison. Even a transcendent master would have to stay away from him. "The heartbreak grass hook tea we drank just now is rosemary on the tea table?" Qiu Gong was shocked and in disbelief. "Yes. This is something that took 10 years to refine. It can even deal with deity realm experts. It's such a waste to use it on trash like you." Divinator had a pained expression on his face. "2 types of poison. You are despicable." Qiu Gong's face paled. Chapter 100. Rosemary was originally invented by Lu Bowen of the Ming Dynasty. It had helped Zhu Yuanzhang kill tens of thousands of Chen Youyang's elite soldiers. It was known as the smell of incense. It was especially effective against martial artists. Once a martial artist smelled it, their body would go limp and they would not be able to use their qi. They would be at the mercy of others. The heartbroken grass hook tea was created by Fu Shi, the ancestor of Shennong school. He had tasted hundreds of herbs, and found that Chinese medicine could cure diseases and strengthen the body. In the end, he accidentally ate the heartbroken grass hook tea and died. This kind of tea could even kill the ancient sages. It could be said that there was no antidote for it. Thinking of this, he activated his qi but found that the blood flow in his body was not smooth, and his breathing was stagnant. He was so anxious that he broke out in cold sweat. "It's over. It's over. The poison should have taken effect by now." Buswanzi looked at Jiang Tian with disdain as if he was looking at an idiot. "There are so many of us. Even a 3-year-old child can knock them down with one finger." At this time, Tang Linglong felt her body go limp, and she sat on the ground. Qiu Gong also fell to the ground. Haha, that's true. Shinong School is really good at using poison. Niu Bowen, Chun Bo and the others immediately clapped and cheered. Haha, you call this poison? It's just candy to me. Jiang Tian's expression did not change. He flicked his right hand and 3 antidotes flew into the mouths of Qiu Gong and the others. He had been in the universe for thousands of years, and had seen all kinds of dangers. For thousands of years he had entered the Dead Zone, the Demon Mountain and the Sea of Poison. Those places were filled with miasma and poisonous creatures. They were the most poisonous places in the world. Compared to the poisonous creatures in those dangerous places, Buswanzi's poison was insignificant. You shameless brat. How dare you disregard Shinong School's poison? I'll take your life first. Niu Bowen raised his head to the sky and let out a strange cry. He had already taken the lead and charged towards Jiang Tian. He wanted to fight for merits and benefits, so if he killed Jiang Tian first, he would definitely be able to get 1 or 2 more top-grade pills. Originally, he was a little afraid of Jiang Tian because of Tang Qianbian. But now that Jiang Tian was poisoned, the poison was only a matter of seconds. What was there to be afraid of? He immediately unleashed the hanging fist. Cloak open break. Hexagram, the 8 trigrams created by Fuxi. His fists were like golden axes chopping down with irresistible force. His punches and kicks were like flames rushing up and golden springs gushing out from the ground. His Chai Gua Quan had already reached perfection. If a Chai Gua Quan master were to see him, he would definitely worship him like a god and sigh at his inferiority. After a series of dazzling transformations, it finally evolved into a straight punch. Like a cannonball, the wind whistled strangely, and the fist energy exploded. It had the momentum of a furious dragon emerging from the sea. With this punch, I will definitely kill him on the spot. Niu Bowen's strange eyes were wide open. His face was ferocious and full of confidence. This Niu Bowen took the initiative. Elder Bo of the inner sex said that even a 3-year-old child could beat him. Why don't I go? Chun Bo was eager to try, but regretted it. Many other martial artists also had the same feeling. Hong Tianzhao and Buswanzi had already sat down, and began to drink tea and eat melon seeds. They were too lazy to watch anymore. However, to everyone's surprise, dong! When Niu Bowen's fist smashed down, a golden light appeared around Jiang Tian's body. When the fist hit the light, it was like hitting a golden bell, creating a loud sound. How is this possible? Niu Bowen was shaken and staggered back. His face was full of astonishment as he looked at Jiang Tian. Haha! How dare a trash like you use a fist technique in front of me? Jiang Tian chuckled and had already punched back. This punch was ordinary, simple, and unadorned. It was casually thrown out like a child playing around. But in fact, it was the mountain-splitting fist of the 18 immortal martial styles. Jiang Tian was now at the peak of the 2nd level of qi refining. With a punch he could smash a huge rock into pieces. Old Niu, get out of the way! Buswanzi, Hong Tianzhao, and Ms. Mange exclaimed together. Niu Bowen only felt a hurricane coming. This punch seemed to be heavier than a mountain, so heavy that it could smash mountains and rivers. Suddenly, his heart was full of warning signs. Iron body cross training. Niu Bowen let out a strange howl, and used his qi to resist. The blood vessels in his body soared and his muscles bulged. Qiguan fist is both offensive and defensive. I didn't expect old Niu to have mastered the iron body cross training, and be able to block a blow from a transcendent master. Elder Buswanzi sighed slightly and admired. Although Jiang Tian is strong, he has been poisoned and his strength is not enough. He shouldn't be able to hurt him. Hong Tianzhao also gradually calmed down, and was very relieved. Boom! An invisible qi fist blasted on his body. Niu Bowen only felt as if he had been hit in the chest by a speeding bullet. He screamed and his whole body had been sent flying, smashing the stone table and toppling it. Looking at his body, his sternum was caved in and his skin and flesh were lacerated. There was blood everywhere. So strong. Niu Bowen spat out a mouthful of blood with fragments of his internal organs and died. At this time, his internal organs were smashed into powder by Jiang Tian's fist. How could he not die? Don't waste time, come at me together. I have to go back and cook soup for my wife. Jiang Tian had killed 2 people in a row. One was a Qiguan fist master who had reached the peak of the iron body cross training. The other was the famous 3rd young lord of the Tang sect. However, he acted as if he had just swatted 2 flies. He was calm and at ease. The only thing on his mind was to go back to Linzhou and cook soup for his wife. How arrogant of you. Hong Tianzhao's face changed dramatically. He stood up and smashed the round table into pieces as he roared proudly. Could it be that both poisons are useless against him? This is not scientific. Bu Xuanzi's face became serious for the first time. 5 minutes had passed, and the poison should have taken effect long ago. However, Jiang Tian still killed 2 people in a row. This made him uneasy. As he wishes, let's go together. Madame Mange's face changed several times. Then, she smiled and said, whoever successfully kills Jiang Tian will have all the elixirs and will be treated as a guest of honor by the Shenong school. He can take 20 elixirs of the highest quality. Kill. 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 There's no need to follow the rules of the Jianghu when dealing with such an arrogant and ignorant kid. Let's go together. Madame Mange's words were like adding oil to the fire. The entire Mount Garuda was in an uproar. Generous rewards would attract brave men. Jiang Tian's elixirs were already tempting enough. Now he could be treated as a guest of honor by the Shenong school. He could take as many elixirs as he wanted. How tempting was that? Not even 1 billion yuan could exchange for it. The many martial warriors who were originally a little afraid of Jiang Tian no longer hesitated at this moment. They all held their weapons and punched out together, fighting to be the first to attack Jiang Tian. Only Madame Mange, Bu Xuanzi, and Hong Tianzhao didn't make a move. Instead, they stood at the back. Dozens of martial artists attacked. 7 or 8 of them were at the internal force level. The rest were basically at the phenomenal success of the iron body. Among them were the elite disciples of the Shenong school and the guards of the Hong family. There were also powerful masters who came from all over the world to attend the party and were persuaded by Shen Mange to join in the action. For a moment, the sound of footsteps was like rolling thunder. Shouts and screams filled the sky. Sabers and swords flashed. The murderous aura seemed to be able to reach the 9th heaven. Even an experienced transcendent grandmaster would have to think twice before going head-on against such a powerful force. Haha, you should have done this earlier. I really want to go home and cook soup for my wife. Jiang Tian wasn't afraid at all. He put his hands behind his back and walked toward the crowd. Swish. A golden-backed ghost head blade slashed down toward Jiang Tian's head, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. The attacker was the son of the Golden Saber Wang family. His saber skills had reached the transcendent level, and he was also an internal force master. He jumped up and used the momentum of the falling saber to flash a white light. It reflected his ferocious face as if he wanted to kill Jiang Tian to vent his anger. Jiang Tian only raised his hand and flicked his finger. With a clang, the ghost head saber flew out of his hand and into the sky. Jiang Tian followed up with a slap. Young Master Wang's head exploded like a watermelon. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. Before young Master Wang's body fell to the ground, Jiang Tian flicked his finger at a martial artist in black. Swish. A ray of light shot out as fast as lightning. A bloody hole appeared on the martial artist's forehead. His eyes were wide open as he fell to the ground. He couldn't believe that he died in such a tragic way. Hee, you can't even withstand a single strike? I'm so disappointed in you. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He killed people like he was killing ants. He walked toward the crowd as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Clang. A treasured sword slashed down. In a flash, Jiang Tian moved like a dragon or a tiger and dodged the sword. He stretched out his right hand like lightning and twisted that person's neck. He casually grabbed the treasured sword that was flickering with cold light in his hand. Let me teach you how to use a sword. Jiang Tian swung his hand. The long sword was like a silver bottle breaking water. The sword light was everywhere. Puff, puff, puff. Blood spurted out. 5 heads flew into the sky, and the bodies fell to the ground. Use your ultimate skills or I won't be happy killing you. Jiang Tian didn't stop. He glanced at the crowd that was pale with fear. His eyes were cold and indifferent. Swish, 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 swish. More than 10 figures rushed up and surrounded Jiang Tian. Some of them used spears and sticks, some used swords and sabers. There were also strange weapons like meteor claws, chain hammers, and flying guillotines. Swish. Jiang Tian's sword swept in all directions. The sharp sword chi was 7 or 8 meters long. It covered a large area. Ah! There were screams and shouts. 7 or 8 people were cut in half by Jiang Tian's sword. Suddenly, blood gushed out and internal organs flowed all over the ground. The pungent smell of blood was enough to make people tumble. Is he a demon? How can he be so powerful? More than 10 powerful martial artists can't stop him. How terrifying. Elder, are the strange poisons of Shenong school useless against him? The rest of the crowd was scared by Jiang Tian's power. They trembled and stumbled back. Their faces were pale as if they had seen a demon. Come on, let's fight. Jiang Tian stepped in the sticky pool of blood and looked at the crowd in disappointment. But they were so scared that they were trembling. How could they dare to fight again? Thump, thump. The rest of the martial artists dropped their weapons and knelt on the ground. They kowtowed as if they were pounding garlic. Grandmaster Jiang, we were just bewitched by Shen Mange and Hong Tianzhao. We were confused for a moment. We have no intention of challenging Grandmaster Jiang. Grandmaster Jiang, please spare our lives. We are willing to be your lackeys. Just say the word, and we will go through fire and water for you. They shrank like quails and were about to cry. They kept worshipping and begging for mercy. You are just ants. How can you be my dogs? You think too highly of yourselves. Jiang Tian sneered and said coldly, kneel and don't move. Whoever moves will die. In less than a minute, Jiang Tian killed more than 20 martial arts masters as easily as cutting melons and vegetables. He forced 7 or 8 powerful martial artists to kneel and surrender. Only Bu Xuanzi, Hong Tianzhao, and Shen Mange were left on the platform. They stood there dumbfounded. The entire place was dead silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Only Jiang Tian was leisurely. He faced Hong Tianzhao and the others, whose faces were pale, with a mocking smile. He said lazily, I wonder if you regret setting up this trap now. Chapter 101. The mountaintop of Mount Garuda was littered with corpses and blood. It was a gruesome scene. The pungent smell of blood filled the air. Tang Linglong and Jiang Lin hugged each other tightly. Their eyes were wide open and their faces were pale. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Jiang Lin originally thought that the other party had set up a vicious trap and ambush, and that her idiot cousin would definitely die. However, he did not expect that Jiang Tian would only use 1 minute to sweep through the entire battlefield and kill his opponent. Is this really my useless cousin? Looking at the corpses and blood all over the ground, Jiang Lin felt as if she had fallen into a dream. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. I had never thought that master would be so powerful. Tang Linglong felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered the faint smile on Jiang Tian's face when she said that Jiang Tian was a good man. She finally understood the meaning behind Jiang Tian's smile. By then, Jiang Tian's malice chi had reached the heavens. It was as if he was a demon god that could crush the gods and Buddhas. Jiang Lin couldn't help but tremble in fear. However, on second thought, she realized that she was his disciple and no one would dare to bully her. She felt proud and smug again. I finally got to see the true face of Master Kong. Even Qiu Gong was taken aback. He pointed a finger at Hong Tianzhao and scolded. You bastards! Now that you know what Master Kong is capable of, kneel down and beg for mercy. At this moment, he was truly elated. Hee, so you are the young grandmaster of Jiangbei, Kong Teichu. Hong Tianzhao smiled arrogantly and stepped forward with a cold sneer. That's right, it is me. Jiang Tian didn't deny it. You have reached the transcendent state at such a young age. That is commendable. You might even become a grandmaster in the future. Unfortunately, your opponent is me. Hong Tianzhao snorted disdainfully. He was full of confidence as if victory was already in his grasp. I have reached the initial transcendent state 5 years ago. And now I have reached the phenomenal transcendent state. Killing you is as easy as chopping grass. As he spoke, he flicked his finger. With a chi sound, a blade of genuine chi shot into the stone table and pierced through it. Jiang Lin tensed up. A transcendent master was as powerful as an immortal. If Jiang Tian were to fight him, it would be hard to say who would win. Wait. Elder Buswanzi stretched out his hand to stop them. He looked at Jiang Tian sincerely and said, Mr. Jiang, this old man admires your talent in alchemy. If you join Shenong School and become a consecrator, we will treat you as a distinguished guest. Sect leaders will love's talents as much as his own life. He will definitely teach you how to concoct pills and make medicine. If you are willing to join Shenong School, then you are my friend. I will naturally shake hands and make peace with you. Otherwise, it will be a fight to the death. Hong Tianzhao said with a nasty grin. Ms. Mange's face was devoid of any murderous intent. She smiled gently and said, a single piece of silk cannot make a thread, and a single tree cannot make a forest. Kong Teichu, if you join Shenong School, you will have a powerful backer. Moreover, you will be able to read our precious books and receive sect leader, Zhu's personal instruction. Among the three people, some were playing the good cop, while the other was playing the bad cop. They were trying to coerce Jiang Tian into joining Shenong School. If Jiang Tian were to join them, they would have no choice but to hand over the elixir recipes and alchemy techniques. Oh my God! Becoming a consecrator and receiving sect leaders was personal instruction. Many martial artists were envious. What a great opportunity this is. If it were me, I would definitely say yes. Chen Bo's eyes turned red with envy. That's right, this is such a good opportunity. A martial artist echoed. Zhuo Zimu, the head of the Shenong School, was known as the elixir master. His ability to refine elixirs and make medicine was more powerful than that of the Chuanjin School, which was also from the Danding School. If they could get his guidance, wouldn't it be a great fortune? However, Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, Zhuo Zimu wants to instruct me in alchemy? Does he deserve it? He's not even fit to be my apprentice when it comes to refining pills. You are so arrogant and ignorant. Buswanzi shouted. His face was red with anger. Ms. Mange shook her head slightly. It seemed that Jiang Tian's choice was very unwise. Forget it. Since this guy is so shameless, let's do it. Hong Tianzhao's eyes were so cold that they seemed to be able to kill people. His face became gloomy. He heaved a long sigh and said, well, today I will let him know the foundation of a Wu Dao Grand Master. You deserve to be called a Grand Master? Then the Grand Masters in Huaxia's martial arts world are like grass dogs and chickens. Jiang Tian scanned him with his divine sense, and then said with a disdainful smile. As soon as he said that, there was a dead silence. Hong Tianzhao had been famous for more than 10 years. He was a real Wu Dao Grand Master, and ranked 20th on the divine list. Compared to him, Li Jinwei, who had been famous for many years in Lingnan, was like trash. Do you know that Grand Masters are like dragons? You can't humiliate a Grand Master. Anyone who humiliates a Grand Master will be killed immediately. Hong Tianzhao's face darkened and was full of anger. Haha, Grand Masters are like dragons. Calling you a bug is a compliment. Arrogant fool. Jiang Tian laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. These people were too ignorant. They thought that they were invincible after reaching the transcendent state. They didn't have the terrifying strength of an immortal cultivator. In the extraterritorial space, any early-stage chi refinement cultivator could crush them like ants. Arrogant fool? A Grand Master is worse than a bug. All the martial artists present were shocked. You are indeed powerful, but you shouldn't be so arrogant. Humph. Kong Teichu, you arrogant and ignorant kid. You are courting death today. Don't blame me. I will kill you. Hong Tianzhao raised his eyebrows and stomped his feet on the ground. Suddenly, he rose into the air like a big bird. Oh my God! Patriarch Hong actually flew up. That's awesome. Grand Masters are like dragons. They are like dragons in the sky. When will I be able to fly more than 10 meters? That's fine too. Stop dreaming. The martial artists present all exclaimed in surprise. Especially the few guards of the Hong clan. They were even more flattering and flattering. They even said shameless things like, Lord Hong is a divine dragon who has come down from the heavens. He will rule the world for thousands of years. Linglong, Duke Qiu, protect Jiang Lin and retreat. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Yes. The three of them retreated 10 meters. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and stepped into the air. It was as if there were transparent glass steps under his feet. He took another step and rose again. After 8 steps, Jiang Tian stood in the air. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. He looked like an immortal or a demon. So powerful. Shen Meng's face changed drastically. At least in terms of lightness skill, Jiang Tian was not inferior at all. Master is so cool. Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes rolled. Her delicate red lips trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes were full of admiration. Is he still a human? Looking at Jiang Tian, who was standing in the air like a god, Jiang Lin could not connect him with her useless cousin. Kill. Hong Tianzhao took advantage of the falling momentum and swooped down. He pulled out a long golden sword and slashed at Jiang Tian. Streaks of golden sword aura condensed in the air. They were flickering as if they were real. The sword aura was endless and swept toward Jiang Tian. The sword aura was like a raging sea. Every sword aura was extremely sharp, as if it could tear the sky and split the earth. Raging sea sword art, flaming gold divine sword. Elder Bu Swansea exclaimed. His eyes were filled with shock and even envy. The raging sea sword art was passed down from the Tianshan sect. Hong Tianzhao's ancestors were from the Tianshan sect. He learned the sword art from there and passed it down. Even now, the Hong family and the Tianshan sect still had a close relationship. This set of sword art was continuous and had both offense and defense. It could be considered the Hong family's ultimate technique. The flaming gold divine sword was also a sharp weapon. It was ranked in the top 30 on the Wuxia martial arts divine weapon list. It was second only to the famous 7 swords in the Tianshan sect. Not only could it cut through hair, but it was also carved with fire elemental Dao patterns. It had the effect of increasing the attack of the sword aura. It could condense a high-temperature sword aura. Even a grandmaster would have to retreat. Wherever the flaming gold divine sword passed, the air would be torn, the rocks would crumble, and the dust would fly. The sharp sword aura left deep marks on the hard rocks and intertwined with each other. This was just the edge of the sword aura. If it swept across a person's body, they would immediately be turned into meat paste. He used his trump card right from the start. Is there such a way to fight? Seeing this scene, even Qiu Gong became nervous. With such a sword art and such a treasure sword, even Jiang Tian would be in danger. No wonder he is a grandmaster on the divine list. He is too powerful. How can Kong Teichu be his match? Shen Meng's eyes were filled with admiration. She then looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if he was already a dead man. Come on, brat. I will tear you into pieces today. After countless sword auras, Hong Tianzhao's hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a mad tiger as he let out a loud roar. Bah! In response, Jiang Tian spat on his palms and rubbed his hands together. His actions were extremely vulgar, which was very different from his usual carefree attitude. Tear you into pieces? Bastard, you think you are so great? I will slap you to death. Jiang Tian smiled mockingly. Then, as if he was swatting a mosquito, he lightly slapped his palm. Immortal martial 18 forms. Heaven-covering hand. What a pity that Master Kong doesn't have a suitable weapon. Qiu Gong's heart skipped a beat. He quickly pulled the 2 girls back. Jiang Tian was a transcendent grandmaster, but Qiu Gong didn't know what level of transcendent state he was at. However, Jiang Tian had just risen to power, so he should be at the initial transcendent state. However, his opponent was a transcendent state grandmaster who had been famous for 10 years. More importantly, Jiang Tian was unarmed, and his opponent had the advantage of a weapon. How could he not be afraid? However, as Jiang Tian struck out with his palm, a surging aura covered a large area like a cloud in the sky. It swept through the entire area like a hurricane, blowing all the cultivators off their feet, and causing them to stagger back. Crack! Crack! How is that possible? Hong Tianzhao, who was blown up and down by the strong wind, looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He was dumbfounded. Suddenly, his vision blurred and Jiang Tian appeared in front of him like a ghost. The two fingers in his eyes were getting bigger and bigger. Hong Tianzhao couldn't dodge in time. With a loud bang, Jiang Tian poked his eye socket. Ouch! Hong Tianzhao screamed and backed away. He almost fell from the sky. However, Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. Following that, he shamelessly kicked him in the crotch, ruthlessly kicking his crotch. Ouch! Hong Tianzhao fell to the ground like a dead dog. He held his crotch and twitched uncontrollably. Then he looked at his face. His eye sockets were bruised like a panda's and his face was covered in tears. Chapter 102. Oh my God! Is there such a way of fighting? How could it be so simple and crude? Everyone was astonished, completely in a predicament. The legendary duels between grandmasters were spectacular, unrestrained, and magnificent. It was like a battle between immortals. It was said that many years ago, Yi Zhantian of the dragon group of Wuxia and Lin Zhenyu, the leader of the Big Circle, had a shocking battle at the West Lake. With a wave of their sleeves, they formed a wall and condensed rain into an arrow, causing huge waves of more than 10 meters high in the West Lake. However, Jiang Tian's fighting style was no different from a street brawl. If you ignored the fact that Jiang Tian was flying in the air. Shameless! Shen Meng shouted in disdain. However, Hong Tianzhao himself was frightened. When Jiang Tian approached him, he was actually enveloped by an extremely strong aura. It was as if he was in a cement bucket, unable to move at all. He could only let Jiang Tian poke his eyes. It seems that this guy's body is very strong. I'm afraid I'll be at a disadvantage in close combat. As Hong Tianzhao thought of this, he roared and swung his flaming gold sword horizontally, vertically up and down, sending out hundreds of chi swords in a row. The chi swords were condensed in the air and hovered there for a long time. They were surrounded by flames. Under the scorching sun, they reflected a dazzling light. Finally, he slashed with his sword and shouted. Profound meaning of the raging sea sword technique, fire dragon goes to sea. Crack. At this time, hundreds of chi swords were activated by him. They were connected head to tail and shot out shoulder to shoulder. They formed a 3-meter-long sword dragon. Wherever the sword dragon passed, the temperature was extremely high. Even the mountain rocks were burned to the point of cracking. Even if a veteran grandmaster was here, he would be flustered and have a headache trying to deal with them. The sword dragon let out a strange roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. It carried a berserk killing intent as it twisted and twisted, trapping Jiang Tian within. The dragon head then charged towards Jiang Tian, who had landed on the platform. The strongest move of the raging sea sword technique, coupled with the support of the flame gold sword. Its power has multiplied. Bu Xuanzi gasped in amazement, his face filled with fascination. Humph, this despicable and shameless brat is definitely going to die, Shen Meng asserted with a look of certainty. Is this the power of a grandmaster? Fire dragon. When he saw the fire dragon goes to sea, Chen Bo's face turned deathly pale. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and he wished he could prostrate himself in worship. Is he still human? Jiang Lin's beautiful eyes were wide open, and her pretty face was deathly pale. She felt that Hong Tianzhao was not a human at all, but a god that could overturn rivers and seas. Hong Tianzhao's use of sword qi has reached the acme of perfection. Qiu Gong stomped his feet anxiously and muttered, "Why isn't Master Kong dodging? This is really dangerous." The sword qi of the fire dragon goes to sea was already incomparably sharp, and there was nothing it could not penetrate. With the addition of the high-temperature flames, it was even scarier. Unless a normal grandmaster had a defensive Dharma treasure, they would have to retreat in time. However, Jiang Tian allowed him to surround him. At this moment, Qiu Gong could not help but sigh regretfully. Although Jiang Tian was extremely talented, he had only been famous for a short period of time, and had too little battle experience. He was instantly placed in a dangerous situation. The group of martial artists and the people guarding the perimeter were even more dazzled. They felt dizzy and their hearts were in a daze. After using the fire dragon goes to sea, Hong Tianzhao calmed down. He raised his sword and laughed coldly. Kong Taechu, what do you think of my fire dragon goes to sea? What do you think? What a piece of trash. Jiang Tian, who was surrounded by the fire dragon sword chi, was calm and composed. He smiled faintly, and the corner of his lips curled into a disdainful smirk. Arrogant brat, you are still so stubborn even when you are about to die. Hearing this, Hong Tianzhao was so angry that he wanted to jump up and curse. However, when the head of the sword dragon was about to touch Jiang Tianyu's jade white palm reached out, and then suddenly clenched, grabbing the sword chi with his bare hands. Crack! Crack! Jiang Tian actually crushed that sharp and scorching sword chi into pieces with a single pinch. How is this possible? Hong Tianzhao was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. So weak. Jiang Tian opened his right hand and easily controlled the dragon head. He shook his head in disappointment and sighed. Break. Then he clenched his left hand and raised it up high. He twisted his body and lightly punched the middle of the sword dragon. In the eyes of ordinary people, this punch was light and powerless. It was like a child in the park in the early morning, imitating a cat to draw a tiger to perform Taiji fist. However, those who knew what was going on felt their hearts skip a beat. The power of this punch was like a meteorite falling from the sky, or like the collapse of Mount Buzhou. With a loud bang, the sword dragon instantly shattered under Jiang Tian's punch. Instantly, it was like a thunderclap exploding, causing the ground to shake and dust to fly into the air. A violent shock wave swept out in all directions, blasting everyone to the point of being thrown off their feet. There were even people who vomited blood crazily. Streams of broken sword power darted out in all directions, riddling the surrounding stone tables and chairs with thousands of holes, making them roll on the ground. When the wind stopped and the dust settled, Jiang Tian, who was in the eye of the storm, walked out slowly and lazily. His face was calm and relaxed. He smiled and said, "Fighting like this is more or less interesting. Hong Tianzhao, what other tricks do you have? Hurry up and use them." Even the profound meaning of the fire dragon goes to sea can be broken. And he broke it with his physical body. Hong Tianzhao was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. His face was pale, and for the first time, fear appeared on his face. He was so shocked that he was about to go crazy. The sword aura of his fire dragon goes to sea could even crush a small car, but it was broken by Jiang Tian with a light punch just like that. Was there any justice left? I've never seen such a terrifying physical body. Such a powerful physical body only appeared in ancient times. Buswanzi was also shocked. Jiang Tian's strength was beyond his imagination. It was too terrifying. I underestimated him after all. Shinmange's pretty face was also pale. For the first time, she wondered if she was wrong to set up this trap. This guy is not human, he's a demon. He's a demon. Oh my god, I actually bullied a demon. I'm finished. I'm really finished. As for Chunbo, he had already collapsed to the ground. His pants were wet. He was so scared by Jiang Tian that he wet himself. Hong Tianzhao, you've made your moves again and again. Now it's my turn, right? Jiang Tian looked at Hong Tianzhao. His face was calm, and his tone was light. Jiang. Hong Tianzhao hadn't decided whether to fight to the death or beg for mercy, but Jiang Tian had already waved his fingers. Star River Break. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, a sword light about 3 meters long, as big as a door, swept across the sky. Tiangang sword formation. The sword light in Hong Tianzhao's eyes grew bigger and bigger. With a roar, he stomped his feet on the ground. Kacha. Amidst a series of explosions, sword lights shot up into the sky like golden lotuses from the ground. Streaks of dazzling golden sword radiance, surrounded by flames, spun in circles. The sword radiance spun faster and faster, until they were indistinguishable from each other. It was as if an iron bucket was protecting his surroundings. Tiangang Protective Sword Formation. This is the strongest defensive move in the Raging Sea Sword technique. Shinmange's delicate body trembled, and her eyes were filled with shock. She sighed in her heart. A grandmaster was indeed a grandmaster. His strength was not something she could compete with. The Tiangang sword formation was just like the chi shield formed by a veteran grandmaster, and the legendary Qi armor formed by an immortal state grandmaster. It could even withstand a barrage of machine guns, and could withstand the bombardment of cannonballs for a while. Is this your ultimate move? Jiang Tian laughed coldly. His hand did not stop as he waved his finger downward. Swish! One sound. The Star River Break Qi sword landed on the Tiangang sword formation without hesitation. The indestructible Tiangang sword formation was cut open like a piece of beef in front of a hot knife. The Star River Break Qi sword flew into the air. With a puff, Hong Tianzhao's head flew up into the air. The blood in his neck gushed up 3 or 4 meters into the air, and spilled onto the ground like a blood flower. Then, the Tiangang sword formation shattered and disappeared. The headless body fell to the ground and lay motionless. Hong Tianzhao, the lord of the Hong family in Yi province, a transcendent state grandmaster on the immortal role in Wuxia, was dead. A deadly silence fell over the area. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian had killed a few powerful grandmasters, shattered the sword Qi dragon with his bare hands, destroyed the Tiangang sword formation, and killed the transcendent state grandmaster, Hong Tianzhao. Was he still human? Everyone trembled as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They didn't have the slightest intention to resist. All they felt was fear and horror. Now do you admit defeat? Jiang Tian stepped on the pool of blood and turned around leisurely. He glanced at Bu Xuanzi and Shen Mange and asked lightly. At this moment he had a calm demeanor. The dust and smoke from earlier had not stained his body at all. His white robes made him look like a flawless immortal. We admit defeat. All the guards of the Liu family knelt on the ground and bowed. We admit defeat. The 2 disciples of the Niu family of Chapgua Quan also knelt down and kowtowed. If the disciples of the Tang sect ever meet Master Kong, we will stay away from him as a sign of respect. The disciples of the Tang sect also knelt on the ground and said fearfully. The Wang family of Luoyang also admits defeat. We admit defeat. Many overlords and forces also knelt down and bowed their heads. This idiot cousin of mine is actually so powerful. He is like an immortal. Looking at the many cultivators on the platform kneeling on the ground and worshipping Jiang Tian, Jiang Lin felt as if she had fallen into a dream, her face filled with disbelief. Bastard, how dare you bully me? However, she suddenly noticed Chen Bo kneeling on the ground in the crowd. She immediately angrily rebuked him and walked up to him. She proudly asked, "You still dare to make this young miss kneel?" "Miss Jiang, I won't do it again." Fearing that Jiang Tian would crush him to death, Chen Bo was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He shivered and kowtowed like he was pounding garlic. "Slap him." Jiang Lin took off her shoes, pinched Chen Bo's chin and started to slap him. Smack, smack, smack. The sound of the slap echoed in the square. Jiang Lin beat him until his cheeks were bruised and swollen. His snot and blood were flying everywhere, and his teeth were almost falling out. "Miss Jiang, please spare me. I won't do it again." "Ouch, ouch, 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 ouch." Chen Bo screamed and begged for mercy. Ever since Jiang Lin could remember, she had never felt so elated and happy as she did today. As she fought, she thought of Jiang Tian's words. In a life-and-death battle, not only do you need to be cautious, but you also need to be bold and powerful. When enemies meet on a narrow path, only the brave will win. You are slick and thoughtful, but you lack the courage to fight a bloody battle to the death. At that time, she only felt that Jiang Tian was arrogant, conceited, and ignorant. He was simply courting death. Now she realized that what Jiang Tian said was priceless advice. The point was that he really had the courage to say it. Chapter 103. Seeing Jiang Lin flaunting her might, Jiang Tian faintly smiled and let it be. In the end, Jiang Tian's eyes fell on Elder Bu Xuanzi. He said lightly, "Elder Bu, what about Shinnong School?" Dio Xuanzi's body trembled slightly, but after all, he was the elder of the Danding School. He calmed down quickly and said in a deep voice, "Great Alchemy Master Jiang, it's true that our Shinnong School offended the Master. But it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. How about we turn hostility into friendship? It's better to make friends than enemies?" Humph. That's just nonsense. Jiang Tian laughed and said disdainfully, even if I, Jiang Taichu, whip the world, sweep through the world, and make the world my enemy, so what? Years ago, Jiang Tian proved his Tao by killing. He was invincible in the world. If he always tolerated and compromised, how could he achieve what he had in the past? In this world, resources were limited, but people's desires were infinite. Most of the time, it was a life and death struggle. Kong Taichu, how arrogant of you. Hearing this, Elder Bu's face was full of anger. He sneered and said, you are indeed powerful, but do you know that Shinnong School has thousands of disciples and 3 transcendent elders, and even a perfected cultivator? Do you really want to fall out with Shinnong School? Haha, a group of small fries. Jiang Tian looked down at Bu Xuanzi as if he was looking at an ant. He sneered and said, you should know that Shinnong School is doomed from the moment you decided to set up the trap and poison me. Shinnong School will either be removed from the list or kneel down and surrender to me, Kong Taichu. Your sect leader and elder should be my apprentices in alchemy, blowing the wind and blowing the fire. Do you understand? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Everyone was dumbfounded. Jiang Taichu's tone was too arrogant. Let the Shinnong sect be exterminated. Let the whole Shinnong School kneel down to you and worship you. Even if you are a young guru, the other side has several gurus, a mountain protection formation, countless magic treasures, thousands of disciples, a deep foundation, and a lot of people. How can one person shake such a big sect with a history of hundreds of years? Rude brat. How arrogant. Do you think you're so great just because you're a grandmaster? Shen Mange flew into a rage, and so did the other disciples. They were so angry that their faces turned red, and they cursed loudly. Originally, the old man cherished talents and wanted to give you a way out. But you don't know when to advance or retreat. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Forget it, forget it. Today, I'll beat you to death. Elder Bu Xuanzi shook his head and sighed. Suddenly, he turned his hand, took out a black streamer, and threw it at Jiang Tian. This black streamer was like a small flag. As soon as it was waved, ghost chi and strange wind whistled. On the platform, dark clouds rolled, and sand and stones flew, covering the sky and the sun. Clang. With a sound, a ghost general in iron armor jumped down from the black streamer. He was covered in blood, and he held a long spear in his hand. He pierced it toward Jiang Tian. It's a fierce ghost soldier. My God, it's a black streamer of 10,000 souls. Shen Mange felt cold all over, and she looked at Elder Bu Xuanzi with respect. It was said that Bu Xuanzi used to be the head of the Yin Ghost sect, a big sect of devil cultivators. More than 10 years ago, when he was refining a magic treasure, he was bitten by the Yin Ghost and became seriously ill. He went to Shinnong School and was cured by the head of the Shinnong School. He was grateful to the head of Shinnong School and returned to Shinnong School. The black streamer of 10,000 souls was a devil sect treasure of the Yin Ghost sect. It had a strong background and was very powerful. It was said that during the end of the Ming dynasty and the beginning of the Qing dynasty, the head of the Yin Ghost sect worked for Li Chengdong, the head of the Qing dynasty's Wusong army. After he conquered Jiading, he slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people who fought against the Qing dynasty. During this process, the head of the Yin Ghost sect used hundreds of thousands of souls to create this black streamer of 10,000 souls. When he waved it on the battlefield, the ghost soldiers and ghost generals immediately appeared, and millions of people died. He contributed greatly to the Qing dynasty's conquest of the southern Ming dynasty. Mange, you have a good eye. Today, this old man will use this black streamer of 10,000 souls to kill Kong Taichu. Bu Xuanzi was full of confidence. He shouted and waved the black streamer of 10,000 souls. Suddenly, 7 or 8 ghost soldiers and ghost generals came out together. Some of them were holding swords, some were holding swords, and some were holding spears. They all charged towards Jiang Tian. These ghost soldiers and ghost soldiers had been tortured to death. They were full of resentment and ghost chi. When they walked past, black chi lingered in the air, withered the grass, and withered the flowers. Among them, there were many ghost kings and ghost generals. Their combat power was terrifying. They could kill an internal force user with one slash. Oh my God, what is this thing? It's so scary. Jiang Lin's face turned pale when she saw this. She trembled and ran away. You want to fight me, Jiang Taichu, with just these little ghosts? Jiang Tian's eyes were full of disdain. He laughed out loud. Then he waved his hand and said, sword. Gotcha. Coins flew out from his backpack and formed the banishing evil golden sword. What kind of magic weapon is this? Seeing this, Shen Mange's pretty face showed a little worry. Humph bluff. Elder Buswanzi said with disdain. Who in this world can cultivate both magic and martial arts? He must have spent a lot of effort to cultivate martial arts to such a level. How can he have time to cultivate magic arts? His eyes were full of contempt and confidence. It seemed that Jiang Tian would be killed by the ghost soldiers in the next moment. Sword in hand, Jiang Tianxin waved his hand, and a bright golden light swept in all directions like mercury flowing down the ground. Chi, chi, chi. The ghost soldiers screamed. In less than a second, they were shattered by the sword light. Moreover, a huge suction force was formed. The black ghost chi suddenly rolled back and rolled. The banishing evil golden sword was like a whale swallowing a cow. It absorbed all the black ghost chi. The sharp golden sword light didn't stop after destroying the ghost soldiers. With a bang, the black banner in Buswanzi's hand was smashed into pieces. Under Elder Buswanzi's shocked gaze, Jiang Tian put away the coins and sneered. You want to use this broken thing to cast magic? What a disgrace. Elder Buswanzi looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. His eyes were full of resentment. He secretly made up his mind. Boy, you are so ruthless. My magic weapon is broken. I can't do anything to you for the time being. When I return to the sect, I will report to the sect leader, and let the elders and masters in the sect attack together. They will tear you into pieces. What are you looking at? Jiang Tian suddenly glared at him. He looked like a rough northeastern man with a big gold chain and a small gold watch at a barbecue stall. He was extremely rude and unreasonable. Jiang Tian didn't give Buswanzi a chance to shout. What's wrong with looking at you? He raised his hand and slapped. With a bang, a millstone-like chi palm blasted out. How dare you? Elder Buswanzi didn't even finish exclaiming in shock when his body was slapped apart by the enormous palm, causing blood to spray out as he was blasted, flying like a rag doll before falling to the ground and taking his last breath. Elder Bu, Shen Mange's face was splashed with blood. She suddenly trembled and cried out in alarm. She couldn't believe that this was real. He was an elder of Shenong School. He was an expert. Behind him was a huge monster like Shenong School. In terms of status, he was second only to the sect leader. Even Hong Tianzhao had to be courteous to him when they met. But Jiang Tian killed him without hesitation. It was like killing a grass dog without the slightest hesitation. Seeing this, many martial artists were so scared that they trembled all over. They didn't dare to make a sound. If it was said that Jiang Tian killing Hong Tianzhao had shocked everyone, but now that Jiang Tian had killed Elder Dianzi, it could be said that everyone was stunned. He's simply a big devil. He's desperate and crazy. It doesn't matter how powerful anyone's background is. Chen Bo's swollen cheek muscles trembled. He couldn't help but pee again. Now, is there anyone else who doesn't agree? Jiang Tian glanced at the crowd. His face was calm, as if killing Elder Bu was like killing an ant. This time, everyone lowered their heads and trembled. They didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian. We're waiting for the disciples of Shenong School to surrender. At this moment, even Shen Mange couldn't stand it anymore. She bowed down with a face full of humiliation. With such ability, not to mention protecting the Jiang family, he's invincible even in Wuxia. Jiang Lin looked at Jiang Tian with reverence as she clenched her fists. It was as if she had obtained a huge backer and something to rely on. After Jiang Tian erased their memories with his powerful divine sense, these martial artists were dismissed by Jiang Tian with a wave of his hand. At night, back at the Medicine Capital Hotel, Jiang Lin dressed up and rushed to Jiang Tian's room excitedly. She saw the high and mighty Shen Mange sitting next to Jiang Tian like a bullied little wife. Chen Bo was kneeling on the ground like a loyal servant, making tea for Jiang Tian and the others. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, looked relaxed and calm. He was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed. He had the imposing manner of a great grandmaster. Jiang Tian, no, Grandmaster Jiang, did I come at the wrong time? Jiang Lin's heart skipped a beat as she asked in a trembling voice. You're also called Master Kong? Funny. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said with a gentle smile. No matter how much friction and unhappiness we had when we were young, you're still my cousin. Blood ties were something that no one could sever. Sit down. Jiang Lin was so moved that she almost shed tears. She silently sat next to Jiang Tian. Master Kong, that's it. Those herbs were irrigated by the spiritual qi water, condensed by the Shinnong cauldron, and produced the greenwood aura. Shin Mange finished her report. Well, the cauldron is made of wood. It should be made of greenwood spiritual liquid. It should be made of 1,000-year-old greenwood. It can be used as the greenwood material for my 5 elements gathering array. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, well, let's rest for 2 days. We'll leave for Shinnong School the day after tomorrow. What are you going to do at Shinnong School? Shin Mange was shocked and asked in a trembling voice. Of course, I'm going to kill you and take your treasures. You little kid made a mistake. Of course, I'm going to ask your parents to take responsibility. Jiang Tian cracked the melon seeds and spat the shells on the ground. Chenbo quickly knelt down and picked them up. Master Kong, you don't have to fight to the death. Shin Mange was obviously much older than Jiang Tian, but he called her a little kid. She was so angry that her face turned pale. But when she thought of Jiang Tian's invincible power, she didn't dare to act rashly. She smiled sweetly and pulled Jiang Tian's big hand to Jiang Tian's side and said softly, you should know that I'm the descendant of the Shen family in Yanjing and the chief disciple of Shinnong School. In the future, Shinnong School will be in my hands. So what? Jiang Tian glanced at her. Chapter 104. This woman had snow-white skin, picturesque eyebrows, a slender and exquisite figure, a slender waist, undulating breasts, and a plump buttocks. Her shirt collar revealed a deep, snow-white cleavage, which made people daydream. She was a cultivator, so her temperament was ethereal. However, she had experienced the world of mortals, which made her even more charming and enchanting. Her every frown and smile could captivate people's souls. She was absolutely enchanting. Seeing Jiang Tian looking at her, Shin Mange's face was full of shyness. She said coquettishly, I'm not married yet. Why don't I marry you first? Then you can join Shinnong School. At that time, you'll have the support of Shinnong School and the Shin family of Yanjing. The Shinnong pie is in my hands, and I am your woman. Isn't it at your disposal to take those thousands of divine herbs and mysterious ancient books and scrolls as convenient as you want? While speaking, she twisted her snake-like waist and leaned toward Jiang Tian. Her plump breasts pressed against Jiang Tian's arm, which was full of elasticity. She put her bright red lips on Jiang Tian's face and wanted to kiss his handsome face. Damn it! Jiang Tian's luck is too great. Seeing this, Chenbo quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to look again. However, he was roaring crazily in his heart. As the first disciple of Shin Nung and a member of the Shin family, Shin Mange was like a high and mighty princess in the sect and the secular world. No matter how many young men and young masters there were, she didn't care about them at all. However, at this moment, she was so enthusiastic and provocative toward Jiang Tian. She clearly meant that if Jiang Tian nodded, she would take off her clothes and offer her body to him. My dear mother, compared to Jiang Tian, I'm even less than a scum. Chenbo felt so inferior that he didn't even have the courage to be jealous. Jiang Tian, you should say yes. Even Jiang Lin was moved and thought this was a good suggestion. If Jiang Tian married Shin Mange and joined Shinnong School, then Shinnong School wouldn't force Jiang Tian to hand over the prescription or get rid of him after he had outlived his usefulness. The Jiang family was in decline now. If they had the support of Shinnong School, a big sect with endless prescriptions and herbs, they would soar into the sky and do whatever they wanted in the secular world. The 3 big families in Jinling were like chickens and dogs. They were as far as they could go. You're pretty good looking. You've mastered your inner strength in martial arts, and your alchemy skills aren't bad either. Jiang Tian's words made Shenmeng's heart happy. The next moment, Shenmeng, Shenmeng and Shenmeng, Shen, and Shen. You. Beauty is like a skeleton and flesh is like a bag of skin. You're nothing in my eyes. Jiang Tian was calm in the face of the three people's shocked gazes. He said disdainfully, "How can you be my wife? How can you be compared to my lovely wife who always stir-fries and puts too much salt? However, I do lack a maidservant by my side. You can be my maidservant. That's not bad." Maid. Jiang Lin was dumbfounded and couldn't say anything for a while. Even Chen Bo was so shocked that he almost sat on the ground. He couldn't believe it. Shenmeng was a descendant of the Shen family in Yanjing, the successor and the first disciple of Shenong School. She would be in charge of the sect in the future. She was a dragon among men and had countless suitors. Many handsome men wanted to marry her but couldn't. However, Jiang Tian dared to say that he wanted her to be his maid. Even those great grandmasters didn't dare to think about it. "Jiang Tian, you've gone too far." Jiang Tian's words made Shenmeng tremble with anger. She was a girl favored by the heavens. She had enough capital to be proud. With her appearance and strength, she was the moon surrounded by stars no matter where she went. The number of handsome young men who wanted to marry her could line up from Yanjing to Hubei province. Today, she took the initiative to express her love, seduced him with her appearance and promised great benefits. However, she was slapped away by Jiang Tian, and was told that she could only be his maid. Even if Jiang Tian was a young grandmaster, it was still a great humiliation to her. Originally, Shenmeng was in awe of Jiang Tian, but now in her heart, Jiang Tian was as detestable as he could be, as hateful as he could be. She couldn't wait for Jiang Tian to die immediately. "Well, I guess I thought too highly of myself." Shenmeng struggled to get up. She suppressed the tears in her eyes and forced a smile. "In 3 days we will go to Shenong School. I hope Master Kong can get what he wants and return with a full load. Little girl, I wanted to give you an opportunity. You don't want such a good opportunity. You don't want to be my maid?" Jiang Tian asked matter-of-factly. "If you can get Shenong School, I can even be your maid for 3 lifetimes. I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Shenmeng was so angry at Jiang Tian that her face turned pink and her chest heaved up and down. She had seen arrogant people before, but it was her first time seeing someone as arrogant as Jiang Tian. She smiled disdainfully, turned around, and left. She was still angry. "Jiang Tian, oh Jiang Tian, so what if you are a young guru? How would you know the background of Shenong School? There are several guru masters in Shenong School, and there is a mountain guarding formation. If you dare to go there, you will be walking into a trap. Today, I gave you a chance because of your talent and ability, so I didn't want you to die in the hands of enemies, but you didn't cherish it. In the future, when you are in deep trouble, you will kneel before me and wag your tail to beg for mercy. You will lick my toes. Go to hell." In the remaining 3 days, Shenmeng thought Jiang Tian was going to practice in seclusion to prepare for the upcoming trip to Shenong School. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian didn't care at all. He took a group of people shopping all day. "Tsk, this kite is so beautiful. Qing'er will like it. Let's buy a few." "Mopen persimmon so big? Qing'er might like it. Let's buy a box." "Mopen chestnuts? It will be good to make chicken soup for Qing. Bye. In 3 days, Jiang Tian had practically strolled through all of Gaoyuo Mountain City's specialty markets and bought a bunch of things. Shenmeng and Chen Bo had become his little brother and little sister carrying his bags. Shenmeng was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. She thought to herself, "What kind of heavenly beauty is this wife of Jiang Tian's? She actually has him doting on her so much." After returning to the Medicine Metropolis Hotel, they packed up these specialty products and sent them back to Linzhou. Jiang Tian patted his butt and said, "Let's go to Shenong School to rob. Oh no, to seek justice." "Jiang Tian, I will go with you." Jiang Lin had a whole new level of respect for Jiang Tian these few days. In the future, Jiang Tian would definitely be in control of the Jiang family. How could she not hug his thigh? "Forget it, quickly go back." Jiang Tian waved his hand. The trip to Shenong School was too dangerous. This idiot cousin sister would be a complete burden if she followed him. But Jiang Lin had a difficult expression. She wanted to say something but stopped. You want the prescription? Jiang Tian smacked his head and immediately understood. Jiang Lin came to participate in the alchemy exchange this time, because she wanted to beg Shenong School to sell a few prescriptions to the Jiang family. But now, the alchemy exchange had turned into a killing spree. She didn't get anything and couldn't go back to report. That's right. Jiang Lin nodded repeatedly and looked at Jiang Tian with anticipation. Jiang Tian was now an alchemy grandmaster. Even the eldest martial sister of Shenong School wanted to rope him in. His prescriptions were probably more effective than those of Shenong School. What's so difficult about this? Jiang Tian thought for a while and immediately wrote out 7 or 8 prescriptions and handed them to Jiang Lin. These prescriptions were all made of ordinary herbs, but after being refined by Jiang Tian's skillful hands, they had the effect of turning the rotten into the miraculous. Once released, they would definitely sweep through Wuxia. Jiang Tian, thank you. I will definitely report to Grandpa and let him. Jiang Lin took the prescriptions as if they were priceless treasures and thanked him repeatedly. No, don't tell Grandpa. Don't tell anyone. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said seriously, don't say a word about what you saw. Just say that you bought these prescriptions from Shenong School at a high price. Do you understand? Why? Jiang Lin didn't understand. In the family, all the disciples were competing with each other to win the approval and appreciation of the old master, to increase the bargaining chip for the position of the family head. I told you not to say, so don't say. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jiang Tian's face turned serious and said in a deep voice, if you dare to say a word, I will not forgive you. Great aunts, second aunts, and third aunts were all super gossipy and gossipy. Once the news of his cultivation and ability spread out, the 3 major families of Jin City would probably act in desperation and take him by surprise. Okay, I won't say a word. Jiang Lin was so scared that her body trembled, and she quickly promised. After Jiang Lin left, Jiang Tian and the others checked out of the room and drove to the depths of Shenangjia. On the way, Shinmange asked curiously, Jiang Tian, you killed Hong Tianzhao. Why don't you go to the Hong family in Hangkou to kill them? They still want to take revenge on me? That's great, I will make sure they don't come back. Jiang Tian sat in the back seat and said lazily, arrogant and despotic. Too despotic. Shinmange was so angry at Jiang Tian that she trembled. However, after thinking about it carefully, she realized that Jiang Tian's words made sense. In the Hong family, Hong Tianzhao was the most powerful and was a transcendent master. If even he was killed by Jiang Tian, the others would only be courting death. She forced a smile and said, although you are right, the Hong family is the richest family in the 3 towns of Wuhan. They control all the river ports, hotels, real estate, and commercial complexes. On the surface, their assets are worth tens of billions, not to mention the hidden ones. Why don't you take it by force? Tisk, it's just a small amount of silver. I don't care about it. What I want is the treasures of the Shenong School. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. For him, hundreds of millions of dollars were within his reach. If he wanted it, he could take it away anytime. The key was the Millennium Green spiritual wood of the Shenong School. If he could set up a spirit gathering array, he could at least reach the mid-stage of Qi refining stage. By then, he would be invincible in Wuxia and would not even be afraid of the old transcendent masters. Arrogant and boastful. Shinmange's eyes were full of mockery. She mumbled, you don't know the power of our sect or the power of sect leaders. When the time comes, you won't be able to go back. Aren't they just a few transcendent masters or perfected cultivators who have reached the ethereal enlightenment? Her voice was soft, but Jiang Tian heard it clearly. He said disdainfully, your master's Wazimu is just a material for my furnace. I can kill him with one slap. Chapter 105. You. Shinmange was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. Her whole body was trembling, and she couldn't say a word. Originally, she thought highly of herself, But when she met Jiang Tian, this jinx, she was repeatedly thwarted. Now Jiang Tian didn't even care about her master, but she couldn't do anything about it. Now she had become Jiang Tian's hostage. She was too lazy to talk anymore. She crossed her arms and looked out of the window. She gritted her teeth and cursed Jiang Tian in her heart. The mountain road was steep, surrounded by clouds and fog, and danger was everywhere. In the evening, the car had entered a small town in the hinterland of Shenangjia mountain range. Jiang Tian saw a few hotels and restaurants, so he asked them to stop and eat. Jiang Tian's group was quite eye-catching. A Land Rover Range Rover, a Mercedes-Benz off-road vehicle, and a few handsome men and beautiful women, including Qiu Gong, Tang Linglong, Shen Mange, Chen Bo, and a few other handsome men and women, surrounded him. He looked like a noble son on an inspection tour. "Master, this restaurant is more popular. Many people come to eat. It must be delicious." Tang Linglong raised her hand and pointed at a restaurant called Star Picking Restaurant with a smile. "Yes, this is it." Jiang Tian also had an indifferent attitude, so he nodded. The group walked into the restaurant and sat down casually. The waiter immediately came up and bowed. "Boss, what would you like to order?" Tang Linglong picked up the menu and ordered some dishes. The waiter reported it to the kitchen and went to pour tea. Jiang Tian said coldly, "Shen Mange, you are my maid. Don't you have any self-awareness? Go and pour tea. Otherwise I will spank you tonight." "You dash." Shen Mange was provoked by Jiang Tian, and her face turned red. She had no choice but to get up and pour tea. This kind of woman is the legendary city man's mistress. Yes, her breasts are so big, just like our cow hay. Several farmers around them looked at Shen Mange and pointed at her, discussing animatedly. Shen Mange blushed with embarrassment. She took out a pair of sunglasses from her handbag and put them on, covering half of her delicate cheeks. Only then did the diner's discussion become a little quieter. "Haha, do you think you're a superstar? She even has the burden of being an idol, and wears sunglasses. She's so ugly." Jiang Tian teased her casually as he sipped his tea. Shen Mange was so shocked that tears streamed down her cheeks, and she clenched her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Just then, 4 off-road vehicles with Zhonghai license plates stopped at the entrance. A dozen burly men in black combat uniforms got out of the first vehicle and walked to the door of the second vehicle. They stood in 2 rows and formed a human wall before an old man opened the door for them. A snow-white, slender, and beautiful leg stretched out. Wearing a pair of Gucci limited edition suede high heels, the beautiful foot stepped on the floor. Everyone in the shop was instantly dazzled. Her beautiful ankles, which were adorned with a platinum diamond anklet, were even more eye-catching, causing the farmers to gulp down their saliva. Following closely behind, a tall and beautiful woman wearing a miniskirt and holding a parasol got out of the car. The girl was about 20 years old. Her skin was as smooth as cream. Her eyebrows were like the distant mountains, and her small cherry lips were like red dots. Her pair of clear and beautiful eyes were captivating. It was already midsummer, and the weather was hot. She was wearing a cool little camisole, and under her slender swan-like neck, 2 pieces of white skin were perfectly exposed, causing people to be lost in wild and fanciful thoughts, and captivating souls. Damn, such a beautiful woman. Just looking at her makes me hungry. Don't talk so much. Why don't you look at the other party's formation? Can you afford to provoke them? I'll take you to the police station later. She's so majestic and domineering. She's even more majestic than those people just now. 4 cars and so many bodyguards. Under the scorching gazes of many men, the girl frowned in disgust and walked into the restaurant. A well-dressed, dignified young man hurried to catch up with her. He arrived at a table 1 step ahead of her, pulled out a napkin, and wiped the table and chairs. Smiling obsequiously, he said, "Take a seat, Yin." As soon as this group of people entered, they were attracted by Jiang Tian and the rest. This was because Jiang Tian and the rest did not look like local mountain people, especially Qiugong's white training clothes and old cloth shoes. It was obvious that he was a martial artist. "This young man is so handsome." The girl who was called Yin'er seemed to be deeply attracted to Jiang Tian. Her beautiful eyes were slightly opened, and there was a glint in her eyes. Jiang Tian was now at the peak of level 2 qi refining stage. It was no exaggeration to say that he already had some fresh and pleasant immortal qi. In addition, all the impurities in his body had been expelled. His skin was like jade, and his eyes were clear. He was as handsome as Louis Ku before he got tanned. Yin, stop looking. We still have to hurry after eating. Hurry up in order. The young man looked at Jiang Tian with a hint of jealousy and said lightly, "It's none of your business what I'm looking at." Han Yen frowned and threw the menu to Mai Shilong. She continued to look at Jiang Tian. After a while, the dishes were served. The two groups of people ate and continued on their way. Jiang Tian realized that the motorcade with Zhonghai license plates had been following them. At midnight, they arrived at a small mountain town and stayed at the only hotel in the town. After checking in, Jiang Tian used the Wi-Fi to video call Zhao Xueqing and reported his schedule for the past 2 days. He was about to go upstairs to rest when Han Yen couldn't hold back her curiosity anymore. She came over with a wine bottle and a wine glass. "Hey handsome, it looks like you are also going to Shenong town, right? Let me buy you a drink." She didn't buy the wine from the pub, but a red wine from the car. It should be Mouton. One glass was worth more than 10,000 yuan. "Yes. Shenong town. You are going there too?" Jiang Tian took the wine glass and smiled. "What a coincidence. Me too." Han Yener was excited. She looked at Shen Mange, who was using the Wi-Fi, and smiled. "Are you his wife? You are so beautiful." "I am not his wife. We have nothing to do with each other." Shen Mange waved her hand, disgusted. Han Yener smiled sweetly and said, "Then I am sorry. I will punish myself with a glass." She took a sip. Han Yener was a talkative person. She introduced herself as she drank. She was from the Han family of Zhonghai. Her family was in the import and export business. Her father had a strange disease, and she wanted to go to Shenong town to ask for some medicine to cure her father. The young man who had accompanied her was called Mai Shilong. He was one of her admirers. He followed her like a fly, and this time he insisted on following her. Hearing this, Jiang Tian smiled and said, "You are going to Shenong town. Are you going to Shenong school? You know about Shenong school too?" Han Yener was shocked. Shenong school was very mysterious and low-key. Ordinary people had no idea about it. They had spent 2 million yuan to buy this information from a medical expert. She had thought that only the children of such big families knew about the existence of Shenong school. She didn't expect that Jiang Tian, who was dressed like an ordinary worker, also knew about it. Seeing Jiang Tian nodded, Han Yener suddenly cheered and said happily, "So you are also going to Shenong school to ask for medicine? I was worried that no one would go with me. I was worried that I would get lost in the complicated terrain of Shenangjia. Now we can be each other's companions." "He got lost? I was taken hostage by him. How could I get lost?" Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. Shen Mange next to him was gritting her teeth and snorting in her heart. "Yen, it's time to rest." At this moment, Mai Shilong walked over with his hands in his pockets. He looked at Jiang Tian provocatively and said, "Don't talk nonsense with these people. What if they have bad intentions? This bar is quite cold. Can you talk in my room later? I'm scared to sleep alone." Unexpectedly, Han Yener didn't leave. Instead, she hugged Jiang Tian's arm and rubbed her full chest against his, and begged in a soft voice, "How can this guy be so charming? How can such a beautiful girl throw herself into his arms?" Shen Mange couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian looked at Mai Shilong, who was standing behind Han Yen, with a gloomy face, and knew that he was being used as a shield. "Hehe, you're scared. Do you want me to spend the night with you?" Looking at the girl who was hugging his arm coquettishly and smiling like a flower, Jiang Tian snorted coldly in his heart, and a sense of disgust arose spontaneously. "It's not impossible." Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Han Yen was slightly stunned. Then she smiled sweetly and pretended to be charming. Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. This kind of girl only thought that she could do whatever she wanted because she was pretty. She didn't care about others. To her, using him as a shield was an extremely simple matter. After she was done, she would just leave. But that pile of stinky trouble was left to him. It was as if it was his honor to be used as a shield. This kind of girl thought too highly of herself. Jiang Tian's disgust was not without reason. One look at my Shirlong and he knew that he was the kind of person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Moreover, Jiang Tian had already used his divine sense to see that his bodyguards were armed. With Jiang Tian's cultivation, my Shirlong would not be able to do anything to him. However, if Jiang Tian was just an ordinary person, my Shirlong, who would be burning with jealousy, would pick a fight and cripple him. He might even be shot and thrown into the wilderness. It could be said that Han Yan did not care about Jiang Tian's life at all. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was as beautiful as a fairy, but as venomous as a scorpion. Sorry, I'm not interested. Jiang Tian raised his arm and flung Han Yan aside. Seeing this, my Shirlong quickly stepped forward and helped Han Yan who was blushing with embarrassment, up. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said angrily, "Bastard, how can you be so rough? Do you believe that I won't kill you?" Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him in the face. He said in a low voice, "Get out. I have nothing to do with you. Don't mess with me and make trouble for yourself." He had been in outer space for tens of thousands of years, and he immediately understood what this kid was thinking. It was nothing more than showing his care for Han Yan and trampling on him. However, if he really wanted to mess with him, Jiang Tian would not mind killing him. If he killed him in the deserted Shenangjia, who would be able to find out? Besides, my Shirlong had no cultivation, and was from a secular family. What did Jiang Tian have to fear? How dare you? Jiang Tian thought that this kid was going to make a move immediately. However, my Shirlong only stared at Jiang Tian viciously, and did not make a move. Instead, he helped Han Yan and left. "Jiang Tian, be careful. They seem to have brought guns deep into the mountains." "Humph." Shen Mange reminded him gloatingly. "Do you think I don't know? Can guns hurt a transcendent master? Ridiculous." Jiang Tian said with disdain. "I'm afraid that if they don't make a move, I'll kill them. You came from the secular world, so how did you develop such a ruthless attitude of a hero who views human lives as worthless? You have no respect for the law." Shen Mange couldn't believe it. Her heart went crazy. She shouted hysterically, "You're not a human. You're a demon fetus. You're an evildoer." Chapter 106. Shen Mange was so angry that she was trembling. She did not want to look at Jiang Tian again, and went upstairs to sleep. Hee for these rich young ladies, human lives are just like grass to them. The law is nothing. Jiang Tian picked up the red wine left by Han Yan, and poured himself a glass. He took a sip and smacked his lips with a deep look in his eyes. "In my last life, I was naive and did not realize the cruel truth of this world. Now that I've been reborn in this life, I've discovered that under the surface order of this world, there are bloody and cruel battles and conflicts everywhere." He drained the remaining wine in his cup and sighed in satisfaction. "But this is more fun, isn't it?" The next morning, Jiang Tian checked out and was about to leave. Unfortunately, he met Han Yan and my Shirlong downstairs. When she saw Jiang Tian, Han Yan's face turned cold and her eyes flashed with jealousy. Last night, although she had used Jiang Tian as a shield and was only putting on an act, she had been rejected by Jiang Tian in front of my Shirlong and lost a lot of face. This made her, who thought of herself as a princess, very unhappy with Jiang Tian. "You are just a worthless guy. What are you so proud of? When we get to Shenong School, I will persuade the masters to kick you out." She glanced at Jiang Tian with disdain, and made up her mind. "Young Master Miss Han, I'm not late, am I?" At this moment young Master Jiang, who they had met at the Medicine Dew Hotel, rushed to Han Yan and my Shirlong in an off-road vehicle and bowed. "You're not late, you're not late. Thank you, young Master Jiang." My Shirlong patted him on the shoulder and smiled. "As long as you bring me to Shenong School, the investment we agreed on in advance will be implemented immediately." Child Jiang seemed to be a good-for-nothing, but in fact he was quite smart. Over the years, he had helped his father get a lot of investment by leading the way to the Shenong clan. Of course, he also had a little share. Just this time, he had led the way for my Shilong and Han Yen, and his shares in the company were worth millions. Young Master Mai, you are so generous. Young Master Jiang was overjoyed when he heard this. He looked around and suddenly saw Shen Mange, Chen Bo and Jiang Tian together. He was shocked and said, Senior Sister Apprentice Young Master Chen, why are you with him? Everyone was silent, and no one paid him any attention. Shen Mange was in low spirits and was too lazy to talk. Chen Bo was already scared out of his wits by Jiang Tian, and didn't dare to talk. Duke Qiu and Tang Linglong had followed Jiang Tian's instructions, and kept a low profile. Naturally, they wouldn't speak carelessly. In the end, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. We are friends now. They want to bring me to Shinnong School to ask for medicine. Oh, I see. I was just about to bring them to Shinnong School to ask for medicine. Now we can go together. Young Master Jiang was very calm and did not notice anything strange. He gave Jiang Tian some smoke and soon, he and Jiang Tian became brothers. Seeing that Jiang Tian and young Master Jiang knew each other, my Shilong's face became gloomy. He wanted to find a chance to kill Jiang Tian in the forest, but it might be difficult now. The two teams formed a convoy and set off again. They soon arrived at Shinnong town. After a few kilometers, the road was cut off and they had to get out of the car and walk. Walking through the dense forest, Han Yen was so tired that she was covered in sweat. She said gloomily, Why is this place so poor? There isn't even a road. It's so hard to walk. Miss Han, you have underestimated Shinnong School. Shinnong School is very rich. The government has always wanted to build roads for them, but the immortals in Shinnong School are reclusive and did not agree. They are afraid that too many people will come to ask for medicine, and disturb their cultivation. Young Master Jiang explained, panting. They are very rich. Han Yen was surprised. You saw it too. Although Shinnong town is deep in the mountains, every family has a car and a villa. Young Master Jiang smiled. What do they rely on? They rely on selling food, vegetables, handicrafts and so on to Shinnong School. Their family's annual income is at least 500,000. That's not a low income. It's even higher than some white-collar workers. Mai Shilong nodded. That's not a big deal. Young Master Jiang smiled. If you are chosen by Shinnong School and accepted as a disciple, your income will be even higher. Even an outer court odd job disciple would have an annual income of 1 million. That's why the surrounding villages are all very rich. In the group, Jiang Tian's face was calm. How could an alchemy sect like this lack money? Even the tiniest bit that slipped through his fingers would be enough to fill the stomachs of an entire mountain family. Young Master Jiang, what do you think we should give them to impress the immortals? Han Yen put a hand on young Master Jiang's shoulder, and jumped over a boulder and asked. Young Master Jiang's father was just a deputy mayor of a county-level city. He was still able to flaunt his power in Garuda Mountain, but compared to Han Yen and Mai Shilong, he was nothing. Miss Han, you asked the right question. Now that Han Yen had addressed him so respectfully, he felt smug. He shook his head and said, They are all immortals. Money is not going to impress them. I don't believe it. Mai Shilong said disdainfully. If 5 million is not enough, then 50 million, 100 million. I don't believe they won't be tempted. Young Master Mai, you have underestimated them. Young Master Jiang rolled his eyes and smirked. Have you heard of the Guo family of Nanyang? Guo family of Nanyang? What's wrong? Mai Shilong and Han Yen asked curiously. The Guo family of Nanyang was a regular on the list of China's wealthiest people. They were a family with hundreds of billions of assets. They were not something that the Han family and the Mai family could compare with. A few months ago, Guo Lily, the daughter of the Guo family of Nanyang, asked me to bring them to Shinnong School. She was going to pay 1 billion for the alchemy pills to cure her grandfather's illness. However, she was kicked out by the immortals. Young Master Jiang said proudly. What? Not even 1 billion? Not even the Guo family of Nanyang? Han Yen and Mai Shilong exclaimed in shock. Jiang Tian was taken aback. Guo Lily must have gone to Shinnong School before she went to the White Ape Valley to look for the Crystal of Life. He glanced at Shen Mange, who was standing next to him. She lifted her chin proudly as if to say, "Humph! You little brat. Do you know how powerful the Shenong school is? You can't afford to offend us." Jiang Tian found it funny. He thought, what can the Guo family prove by asking for the alchemy pills? It just proves that the Shenong school has a lot of treasures, and I can take them away from you. Han Yan was a little worried and thought for a moment. She smiled and asked in a sweet voice, "Brother Jiang, what can we give to satisfy the old immortals in the mountains?" Hearing Meng Qi call him Brother Jiang made young Master Jiang's whole body feel lighter. He was so happy that he almost floated in the air. He immediately told Meng Qi everything he knew. Those old immortals like to collect all kinds of rare and precious herbs. Secondly, they like antiques, jade, famous paintings, and so on. Oh, that's good. Han Yan was a little relieved. Luckily, they had collected a lot of jades and antiques before they came. Otherwise, this trip would have been in vain. At this moment, she rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian and gloated. Jiang Tian and the others didn't carry any luggage, so they probably didn't bring any treasures. They would probably be kicked out by the alchemists of Shenong School. The forest was filled with white fog and poisonous insects. The road was rugged and filled with vines and shrubs. It was very difficult to find. Even though young Master Jiang had been to Shenong School several times, he still almost lost his way. This road is not suitable for martial artists, but for normal people, I'm afraid something bad will happen. No wonder the Shenong School is able to hide from the world and enjoy such a high status in the modern world. Jiang Tian sighed softly when he saw this. Suddenly, a wild boar ran out of the forest and dashed toward the group. The wild boar was about half the height of a man and 1.5 meters long. It was like a calf, with a mane that looked like steel needles all over its body. Saliva dripped from its white fangs. Bang! 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 The bodyguards were shocked. They quickly drew their guns and fired at the wild boar. The wild boar had obviously been shot and was sent tumbling. But in the blink of an eye, it rolled over again. It seemed to be enraged. Like a bulldozer, it charged toward the group even more fiercely than before. Damn, it can't be killed. The bodyguards were shocked and panicked. It turned out that the wild boar often rubbed against pine trees and was covered in pine resin. Over time, it was like a thick layer of armor that couldn't be broken by knives or bullets. "It's okay, let it come." Behind Han Yan, an old man called Uncle Lu calmly stepped forward and stood in front of the group. The wild boar came so fast that it stirred up a black whirlwind. When it was 5 meters away from the group, it suddenly jumped from the rock and charged toward Uncle Lu like a cannonball. Uncle Lu raised his right hand and lightly patted the wild boar's head. There was a muffled thud. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. The wild boar, which weighed a few 100 pounds, flew 7 or 8 meters before it stopped moving. It was dead. Impressive. Sir, you are almost as good as the gods on the mountain. Young Master Jiang wiped the sweat off his face and gave Uncle Lu a thumbs up. Uncle Lu didn't take it to heart. He smiled faintly and said, "Let's go." Han Yan glanced at him arrogantly and said, "See, even my bodyguards are better than you." Everyone kept trekking. In the afternoon of the second day, a steep and straight mountain suddenly appeared in front of them. It was like a straight sword piercing through the sky. There was a huge valley at the foot of the mountain. It was surrounded by high walls made of green stones. It formed a huge fortress with a radius of 7 or 8 kilometers. They had finally arrived at Shenong School. "It's so beautiful. It's like a paradise." Han Yan was envious. Chapter 107. Suddenly, young Lord Jiang said apologetically, "Miss Han, young Lord Mai, this is as far as I can take you. I am not qualified to enter the valley." "Then go ahead. I am grateful that you have brought me here." Han Yan smiled. "Oh right, do you see the entrance of the valley? The miasma is thick and it is very dangerous. Be careful," young Lord Jiang said, and then left with his 2 bodyguards. Han Yan didn't hesitate and ordered the bodyguards, "You go into the valley first and tell them that someone from the Han family of Zhonghai is here to visit. Don't be rash." Shen Mange said proudly. The mountain defense array and the mountain gate belong to the sect. It is disrespectful to break in. Be careful not to be killed. It is just a cloud of smoke. What is there to be afraid of? You are as timid as a mouse. Han Yen was very unhappy with Jiang Tian, and even Shin Mange was not pleasing to the eye, so she said with disdain. At her command, the figures of the two bodyguards flashed and rushed into the heavy smoke, flying toward the mountain gate. These bodyguards were fully armed, with bulletproof vests, helmets, explosion-proof shields, and long and short guns. They even wore gas masks. Not to mention a cloud of smoke, they could even come and go freely in a rain of bullets. Less than 5 minutes after the two bodyguards rushed in, the smoke suddenly surged uneasily. Wind and thunder rumbled, as if there was 100-meter-long dragon stirring wantonly. With a bang, a bodyguard flew out from the deep miasma. His speed was so fast that he crashed into a big tree and broke it. Everyone was shocked. There was a thumb-sized hole in the bodyguard's helmet. Blood and brain matter flowed down his face. His chest was fractured, and he was already dead. Xiao Wu, come back. Tang Kaixian was so scared that he was sweating profusely. His face was pale, and he quickly called for the other bodyguard. But it was too late. Whoosh. The other bodyguard was also sent flying by an irresistible force. He landed heavily on the ground and died. His face and hands had been corroded, revealing white bone stubble. He was already a skeleton. This spirit design is so powerful. Everyone turned pale with fright. At this moment, even Uncle Lu was shocked. His face was full of shock. What should we do? Who can go in? Han Yen-er's face turned pale and her legs trembled. At this moment, everyone was at their wits' end. No matter how skilled they were, there was no way they could resist such a terrifying and bizarre formation. Mr. Jiang, can you go in? Shin Mange looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. Follow me in. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he leisurely walked into the array as if he was taking a stroll in a park. Shin Mange snorted disdainfully. Ignorant and arrogant, you really dare to go in. If you want to court death, then go ahead. Humph. Even if you are the Master Kong of Jiangbei and have reached the initial transcendent state, there is no way you can withstand this sinister and unpredictable mountain protection array. Chen Bo's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Jiang Tian walked into the formation, and with a paw sound he seemed to casually lift his leg and kick a huge mountain rock. Suddenly the boulder caved in. It turned out to be a hidden mechanism. The fog suddenly shrunk, forming a long tunnel for my Shilong, Han Yen and the others to pass through. Huh? Why is the fog gone? My Shilong and Han Yen were puzzled. They had no idea what was going on. This asshole knows how to use array formations. This is not fair. Shin Mange's face was filled with shock. She was also shocked by Jiang Tian's prowess. Jiang Tian walked all the way, his feet not stopping, turning here and there, casually poking here and kicking there. But strangely, the fog opened up a path, and all kinds of hidden arrows, poison spears, boulders, traps were suppressed. They were accumulating power but were not released. Soon, they had crossed a kilometer and followed Jiang Tian to a stone wall. Although this stone wall looked like it was one with the other stone walls, it was different. Jiang Tian immediately recognized that this was the gate of the Shinnong school. Other places were covered with weeds, moss and vines, but this place was clean and clean. Apparently, it was frequented by people. Just as Jiang Tian was about to send a message to the valley, a few figures suddenly appeared at the top of the stone wall. Who dares to touch my mountain protection array? Do you want to die? As the crowd exclaimed, they jumped down from the giant stone wall that was over 10 meters high and swept over like a gust of strong wind. Uncle Lu hurriedly stepped forward, bowed and cupped his fists and said humbly, Immortal Master, I'm Hu Delu, a boxing master of Xingyi boxing. These two are the children of the My family and the Han family in Zhonghai. They come to Shinnong sect to ask for medicine. Oh, it's Hu Delu. The leader smiled. Don't call me Immortal Master. I am just a gatekeeper. My surname is Yu. Just call me Old Yu. Master Yu, please let us enter the valley. Uncle Lu did not dare to be negligent. He bowed and cupped his fists. He had already sensed that this Master Yu was at the initial success stage of inner force. He was even stronger than him at the peak of Iron Body. He would be a powerful figure in the outside world. And such a powerful person could only be a gatekeeper in the Shinong school. He could not help but be in awe of the Shinong school. The elders and alchemists in the sect have important matters to discuss. I am afraid they will not be able to help you get the medicine in such a short time. Gatekeeper, you said awkwardly. Jiang Tian laughed in his heart. The news of him killing Buswanzi and causing a ruckus at the elixir exchange must have spread to the sect. The elders must be prepared. Uncle Yu, please let us in first. We can wait as long as it takes. Han Yen walked forward slowly and gave Gatekeeper Yu a jade pendant. This jade pendant was actually an antique called the Lu Zigong pendant. It was worth 700,000 to 800,000 yuan. Gatekeeper Yu accepted it and did not even look at it. It was as if it was not worth mentioning. But his attitude was much better. He said, "All right, you can go in." His eyes swept over Chen Bo and Shen Mange's faces, but he didn't say anything. Chen Bo was a handyman disciple, so he didn't know him at all, but Shen Mange was wearing big sunglasses, so he just felt a little familiar. The stone door opened and Gatekeeper Yu walked in with everyone. He said seriously, "When you are in the sect, don't wander around and don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, you will be kicked out by the elders and alchemists." "Don't worry, Gatekeeper Yu. We will." At this moment, even my Shirlong put away his pride and said humbly. After entering the valley, one could see the lofty Shinong Peak on the opposite side. It was surrounded by mountains that were more than 1,000 meters above sea level. It was like a green barrier that surrounded the valley in the middle. It was an independent space that was isolated from the mortal world. The valley was about 10 miles in radius. The terrain was gentle and the soil was fertile. There were a few rivers and streams that intersected with each other. Patches of jade-green medicine fields were laid out on the ground like soft carpets. In the middle of the medicine fields, some disciples in black Taoist robes were weeding, fertilizing, and pruning. Some wild deer were running on the lawn. They were not afraid of people and were drinking water quietly by the river. A few red-crowned cranes were flying up and down by a lake. The cool breeze brought along a refreshing medicinal fragrance that refreshed one's mind, causing one's spirit to be refreshed. They couldn't help but close their eyes and take a deep breath in intoxication. Opposite the entrance of the valley, under the Shinong Peak, there was an endless stretch of palaces built against the mountain. The palaces were built with green bricks and gray tiles. The eaves were raised and smoke curled up. People's voices could be heard. It was like a big village. At the back of the palaces, there was a huge stone statue of Shinong carved on the mountain wall of the Shinong Peak. The stone statue of Shinong held herbs in one hand and a golden cauldron in the other. It had a kind face and amazing height. It made people look up to it and have the impulse to worship it. This is the grandeur of a big sect. Uncle Lu's face was full of fanatical worship and fascination. He could not stop sighing. "Jiang, what treasure did you bring to the masters of the Shinong school?" "You didn't come empty-handed, did you?" Han Yen said disdainfully. "You didn't only bring your bank card, did you? It's useless. You'll be kicked out by the elders and alchemists later." My Shirlong looked at Jiang Tian as if he was an idiot. "I'm not here to ask for medicine." Jiang Tian's words left them scratching their heads in confusion, greatly astonished. "Then why are you here? Are you trying to get something? Get out of here. You have no right to come to this place." Han Yen said disdainfully. "If you're not here to ask for medicine, then what are you here for? Are you here to cause trouble? You can scram." Hearing those words, Guard Yu spoke angrily. The gate was closed. Shinmange took off her sunglasses and looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. She sneered and said, "Guardian Yu, go and tell the elders that Kong Teichu of Linzhou is here to visit." "You're Kong Teichu?" Guardian Yu looked at Jiang Tian again and asked in a trembling voice. His face turned pale and he could not believe it. "That's right." Jiang Tian did not even look at him. He used the demonic dragon roar and shouted, "Kong Teichu of Linzhou is here to visit Swazimu, the leader of the Shinong school." His voice was like rolling thunder. It spread out in all directions and went straight to the sky. The trees shook violently, the pond rippled, and the rocks tumbled. It was as if there was an earthquake. Guardian Yu was the first to bear the brunt of the sound wave. The sound wave hit him squarely in the chest and sent him flying. He fell to the ground and passed out. Uncle Lu staggered back a few steps. His chest was filled with so much disgust that he wanted to die. Fortunately, he did not spit out a mouthful of blood. Mai Shilong and Han Yan were also shaken. They looked at Jiang Tian in horror and shouted, "Are you crazy? What do you want?" Shinnong School Meeting Hall. A group of senior elders and alchemists of the Shinnong School were discussing how to deal with Jiang Tian. A few powerful masters also sat there and offered suggestions. Many of them were internal force users and transcendent state martial artists, ethereal enlightenment spell masters, alchemists, and miracle doctors. It's said that Jiang Taichu can refine a lot of magical elixirs with rich reserves. It's okay if he doesn't come. If he dares to come, we will capture him and force him to tell us the elixir formula and the refining rules. At that time, our Shinnong sect can make further progress. An old man in a black robe said smugly. The old man was the Grand Law Enforcement Elder of the Shinnong School. His nickname was Perfected Silver Moon, and he was an ethereal enlightenment spellmaster. He was responsible for the advancement test of the Shinnong School's disciples and the protection of the sect rules. If anyone violated the rules, he would punish them severely. I still feel a bit uneasy. Song Aonian, the head of the executive group, said worriedly, "Silver Moon, he killed Hong Tianzhao and Buswanzi. He must be powerful." Aonian, you think too much. How can Hong Tianzhao compare with the Shinnong School? As the Grand Law Enforcement Elder, Perfected Silver Moon held the highest position in the sect when the sect master was in seclusion. He sneered like an old fox and said, "Even if Jiang Taichu is an experienced grandmaster, we are not afraid of him at all. What's more, he is so young. According to the information from Mange, he is only in his early 20s. I'm afraid he has only reached the initial transcendent state. I can kill him as easily as killing a chicken." Chapter 108. That's right. You worry too much, Aonian. The one who spoke was another Grand Elder of Law Enforcement, Wei Bufan. He was a perfected cultivator at the ethereal enlightenment level. An initial transcendent grandmaster is nothing to me. His face looked like it was in its 70s. Only when he blinked his eyes did he show a hint of arrogance. He shook his head disdainfully and said, "We have a few transcendent grandmasters here. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. He is digging his own grave by coming here. Come on, let's have a cup of monkey wine to celebrate Kong Teichu's death." Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon raised his glass and said with a smile, while the hall was bustling with noise and excitement. Suddenly, bang, bang, bang. The glass window was crushed by an invisible wave of air and exploded with a loud bang. Pieces of broken glass fluttered like butterflies. Whoosh. The air wave swept across the hall like a hurricane, making it hard for people to open their eyes and breathe. Crack, crack. Cracks began to appear on the fine porcelain teacups, and they continued to spread. A thunderous voice came up. "Kong Teichu of Linzhou City is here to visit the sect master of Shinnong School, Zhuo Zimu." What? Kong Teichu is here? Everyone was shocked. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon was enraged. How dare that bastard behave so atrociously in the Shinnong School? I will kill him. Whoosh. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon swayed his body and shot out of the hall. Then he shook his arms and soared into the air like an eagle, diving toward the place where the voice came from. Zhang Aonian, Wei Bufan and the other elders immediately followed him and rushed toward the place where the voice came from like a hurricane. At that moment, the entire Shinnong School was boiling as if a pot of cold water had been poured into a pot of hot oil. Countless disciples came out of their rooms and looked forward to the scene. There were also dozens of experts, like grasshoppers, leaping up and down from the roof of the palace and shooting towards the scene of the incident. "Jiang Tian, the Shinnong School treats you as a VIP and wants to exchange alchemy with you. Why did you kill my fellow disciple Buswanzi and come to my sect? Are you tired of living?" Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon stood on the roof of a hall and looked down at Jiang Tian as he shouted coldly, Jiang Tian slapped Shinmange to the ground and stepped on her butt. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back and leisurely sneered. An exchange of alchemy Dao as an honored guest? In my opinion, this is a hangmen banquet. Xiang Zhuang's sword dance is all about Lord Pei. You are after my elixirs and recipes. Master Kong, there must be some misunderstanding. Worried about Jiang Tian's cultivation, Song Aonian was frightened and wanted to stall for time. He smiled bitterly and said, "Put down Shinmange quickly. Let's sit down and talk about it." Isn't it good to bury the hatchet? What else is there to talk about? Jiang Tian said coldly. The Shenong school wants to kill me and steal my treasures. The Shenong school should apologize to me. Humph, you have already killed one of our elders and several of our disciples. You have caused great losses to the Shenong school, and now you want us to apologize. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon shouted angrily. Is the Shenong school so honorable in your eyes? Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and showed some anger. He shouted coldly. Do you think I, Jiang Tian, should give myself up just because you want to kill me? Although I, Jiang Tian, am not a fish on the chopping board for you to slaughter. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon was speechless. It was indeed Buswanzi and Shinmange who first set up an inescapable net to harm Jiang Tian, but they didn't expect Jiang Tian to counterattack. Song Aonian asked in a low voice, Jiang Tian, please let go of Shinmange first. How do you want us to apologize? Just tell us. Since sect leaders Wazimu received the news, he had been in seclusion for the past few days. He said that he was refining a magical treasure. Now Wei Bufan was deliberately stalling for time to create an opportunity for Zwazimu to come out of seclusion. Simple. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Either you respect me, or you all leave the Shenong school and leave this valley, the spiritual herbs, and all kinds of magical treasures to me. Seeing that Jiang Tian was demanding an exorbitant price, Wei Bufan was so angry that he stomped his feet and said angrily, Are you crazy for magical treasures and spiritual herbs? This valley was originally passed down by our ancestors, and you want to take it for yourself. Everyone was enraged as well. Jiang Tian was too greedy. A man who was never content was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. He actually wanted to take over their habitat. What a big appetite. Mountains and rivers are impermanent masters, and the strong are the masters. You want to steal my elixir recipe, so I'm not allowed to steal yours. What kind of logic is that? Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and said matter-of-factly, If you don't give it to me, then I can only wipe out the Shenong school. In the end, the Shenong school will still be mine. How dare you? We originally wanted to negotiate with you to resolve this grudge, but we didn't expect you to be so arrogant. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon snorted coldly and said, You think you're so great just because you're a martial Dao master. At your level of cultivation, the Shenong school has at least 80, if not 100. Since you don't know when to stop, don't blame the Shenong school for being ruthless. As he said that, he waved his hand and gave the order to take Jiang Tian's life. Perfected Silver Moon, you can't. Senior sister is still in his hands. A disciple knelt on the ground anxiously. Humph, don't shoot the rat for fear of breaking the vases. If we don't get rid of this bastard today, there will be endless trouble in the future. Perfected Silver Moon's face became incomparably cold and murderous. He suddenly formed a hand seal and pointed at the area where Jiang Tian was. Boom. There was a loud noise and the void changed. The area where Jiang Tian was suddenly filled with a terrifying pressure. It pressed in from all directions, as if it could even squash steel. Mai Shilong and Han Yan suddenly felt their breathing become difficult. They felt as if their bones were about to be crushed. They knelt on the ground and screamed, Please have mercy, Perfected Cultivator. We are the disciples of the Han and my families of Zhonghai. We are here to ask for medicine. We bear no ill will toward your sect. Ha! You have reached the ethereal enlightenment level. You can control the essence chi of heaven and earth. Jiang Tian was taken aback. He seemed to be amazed by Perfected Silver Moon's cultivation. Then he raised his hand and waved it in the air. Puff! The sticky air was torn open, and a clear space was created. It was clearly separated from the heavy air in the surroundings. Jiang Tian was safe and sound. Is he also a Dharma spellmaster? The elders and disciples of the Shinong school were all shocked. Perfected Silver Moon was using a Dharma spell to compress the air. In the past, he could even crush a small car into scrap metal. However, Jiang Tian was able to break the spell with ease. It was unbelievable. Take another blow from me. Perfected Silver Moon also found it hard to believe. He made a few hand seals and pushed the air. Puff. In front of Jiang Tian, a 3-meter-long, rapidly spinning stream of white air suddenly appeared. It was like an air cone, fiercely drilling into Jiang Tian's chest. Heart-boring Qi Cyclone. The Qi Cyclone looked ordinary, but it was actually formed by the essence Qi of heaven and earth. It could easily penetrate a 5-centimeter-thick steel plate. Martial artists' bodies were not dense enough. Even if they could withstand bullets, they couldn't withstand the Qi energy. Therefore, Dharma spells were much more effective against martial artists. Perfected Silver Moon had once used this spell to kill a transcendent grandmaster. It was a deadly move. Wherever the Qi Cyclone passed, the void dimension became blurry. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Even the moss on the ground was scraped off, leaving a series of ghastly marks on the green bricks. Useless. How dare you bring out such a pathetic spell technique to embarrass yourself? Jiang Tian snorted coldly in disdain. He did not move at all. When the Qi vortex was about to enter his chest, he raised his hand and clenched it. Kaboom! Crack! Jiang Tian grasped the tip of the Qi Cyclone with his bare hand and shook his arm. The Qi Cyclone shattered into pieces and disappeared in a blink of an eye. His physical body is so strong. Perfected Silver Moon felt the recoil of his Dharma energy. His body trembled, and he felt an intense pain in his chest. He took a step back and looked at Jiang Tian in shock. How is that possible? What is his cultivation level? Everyone at the Shinong school was taken aback by the development. Their faces were filled with fear. Perfected Silver Moon was a Dharma spell master who had reached ethereal enlightenment. His ability to drive fire and condense ice and control the Qi of heaven and earth shocked the whole Shinong sect, and no one was convinced. His heart-piercing Qi vortex was powerful enough to kill a transcendent state cultivator. Normally, martial artists wouldn't dare to face a Dharma spell master head-on, because Dharma spells were too unpredictable and unpredictable. Only transcendent grandmasters or immortal state warriors could break the spell with their Dharma spells. However, Jiang Tian was able to break the Dharma spellmaster's Dharma spell with his bare hands. Everyone was shocked and bewildered. What was Jiang Tian's cultivation level? Transcendent state? Immortal state? How could he be so powerful at such a young age? My Shirlong Hanyan, and Uncle Lu knelt on the ground and looked up at Jiang Tian's tall back in shock. At this time, Jiang Tian was standing proudly on the crisscrossed path, facing many masters of the Shinong sect alone. Just like a peerless god of war who could hold back 10,000 men. He was no longer the taciturn and calm young man. Han Yener was shocked. She had never seen such a powerful aura even among the top young lords of Zhonghai. That kind of domineering aura. That kind of peerless grace that suppressed the crowd of heroes. She seemed to see the appearance of her grandfather, and those few ambitious and ruthless patriarchs fighting on the battlefield. Let's do it together. Reverend Silvermoon's face immediately sank, and he cursed inwardly. Today they had really encountered a tough nut to crack. There was no room for negotiation in this kind of conflict of interest. The conflict was irreconcilable. Either you die or I die. Boom. Following Reverend Silvermoon's order, dozens of martial arts and spell masters launched a general attack from all directions in an instant. In an instant, fist energy exploded in this area. Saber light flickered, sword chi crisscrossed, flames swallowed, ice covered, lightning flashed across the sky, and black poisonous gas that was like ink surged and filled the air. More than 30 Dao-reaching and metaphysic realm experts cast spells at the same time. Some took out magic weapons, some threw out talismans, and some set up arrays with finger gestures. In an instant, it was as if tens of thousands of cannons were firing at the same time, or tens of thousands of thunderbolts were striking down at the same time. It was earth-shattering, and the momentum was astonishing. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.